He's excused tonight.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the December 6, 2010 Lake Washington School District Board of Directors meeting. And our board members are present except for Chris Carlson, who has been excused for the evening. And I would entertain a motion of approval of the agenda.
So move.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, our agenda is approved, and now we have our host school here tonight.
Thanks, Jackie. We are privileged to have the fine Mighty Rebels of Juanita High School here tonight. Obviously, they're here.
Well, you know, we are rebels.
Yes. I do have to say that Juanita High School is one of my favorite schools because they really know how to put on a show. So I love going to their graduations where it is loud and rowdy and fun. So I'd like to introduce Gary Moed, who's the building principal, and he is going to introduce many of his staff and families and welcome you to Juanita High School.
Right where it says push? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you, Dr. Kimball. You look very good in front of that Juanita Pride sign. Matches the color, you know. So we have a tremendous turnout of faculty and staff, representatives of PTSA, and many of our departments are here. Raise your hand if you're from Juanita. Anybody out there who graduated from Juanita? Okay.
And how many of us had kids who graduated from Juanita?
Okay.
She's in law school, you guys, now.
Oh.
Sorry, Gary. I'll behave now.
So good evening, members of the Board of Directors. Is this? We're delighted to share who we are, what we do, why it's important, and what we've achieved at Juanita High School. We've made tremendous progress over the last 5 years, this being the fifth of 5 years of our team, administrative team being together and our core faculty group being together as well. So our Juanita High School is part of our terrific Juanita Learning Community, where we are a very, very close-knit group of schools, of principals, and of teachers. All of us collaborate together. Teachers from differing schools collaborate together. Students in the building collaborate together, and our principals collaborate together. Our students are all connected with each other and with our faculty. Our faculty are connected with each other and with our students. It combines all together for a terrific atmosphere in which learning and connection, value, and challenge can really, really happen and do. Our staff is so connected with each other that we can have a common purpose every year, the common purpose all associated with students and with learning. We've been very much moved and impressed with a lot of research work. One of them is from Conley, who really focuses on what it takes for students to get to college. I had the opportunity when I was new to the district to go to a conference in Arizona where we got to study his work and actually meet him. And his whole emphasis, which really struck a chord with us, is that every student can make it to college. All they need is rigorous coursework to get there. And we're very committed to providing that rigor, and we've been layering and scaffolding that over these last 5 years. Our standard and basic program at Juanita prepares students for admission to four-year colleges and universities. Our classroom environments are such that courses are rigorous, quality instruction occurs, students are engaged, and good things are happening. And most of all, students are connected to what they read and what they learn. At Juanita, we've been using a theme for the last 5 years of critical thinking, and that's the umbrella under which most of our SIP plan resides. Critical thinking, not just critical thinking as we say it as a generic term, but it's a type of critical thinking which relates to student learning, relates to faculty studying together and understanding how students learn best, and is also aligned with our school profile. In the first year of our 5-year journey, we focused on purpose, as you can see in the critical thinking wheel. On the kind of in the 1 o'clock position there, you have purpose. And purpose has many, many expressions in our school. When we get together as a faculty, it's really clear what the purpose of the meeting is. When we get together for a committee work or a work session, we always start with, this is what we're here to accomplish today. And in classrooms, purpose is expressed by the employing of learning targets so that students are clear about what they're supposed to do for that given class period. There is research, which we'll see a little later in the presentation, which makes it very, very clear if students know what are expected of them, the chances are much greater that they're going to meet their purpose. The second year of our 5-year journey, we focused on questioning as part of an expression of critical thinking. And our staff did a book study of quality questioning. We practiced asking questions of each other at our staff professional development sessions. We employed it in the classroom. We talked about things like wait time and Maslow's hierarchy, and the result is that real thinking is going on across all of our coursework. As I mentioned, there's some research from Marzano on this slide, which shows that the effect of setting goals and objectives result in gains in learning, and reinforcing effort also results in gains in learning. A few years ago, Dr. Kimball had all the principals read a book called Mindset by Carol Dweck, and that had a big influence on our school, and we use aspects of mindset in all of our new student orientations when we bring in new groups of students each August and September. And the premise of mindset is that innate intelligence is wonderful, but putting in a quality effort and working diligently is even more important than innate intelligence. And that people who might be super geniuses, if they don't put in a quality effort, they end up with pretty ordinary outcomes. Whereas anybody, if they put in an effort, can reach their goal. And that also combines with the need for a learning target and for setting the predicate for student learning. If students are trying and we're focusing on thinking and it's clear what our purpose is, the right components are there for learning to occur. For our 3rd and 4th years, we focused on formative assessment. Formative assessment has been a 2-year study. We also did another book study. We love book studies, and we love sharing what we read and how it applies to different content areas. Different departments could apply the same text differently, and we really get to talk in collaborative teams about how what we're reading about formative assessment or thinking or purpose is affecting the work in those teams. So in our intensive study of critical thinking, we came up with a definition that critical thinking is a pre-planned process which results in teachers making adjustments based on the data that they're seeing about student learning. Are students getting it? Are they not getting it? You explain something. How do we know if the students are getting it? Is asking students to raise their hands enough? Or can we take a look at evidence from their work to tell if they're getting it? And then depending on how students react to what we're presenting or what we're engaging them with, that results in adjustment on the parts of students so that they can use different strategies to try to learn more effectively, and changes in the result of changes on the part of teachers as well. And this year we're developing monitoring systems so that teachers and students both know how students are doing relative to a standard. This year we're focusing on standards. Every course has a standard, whether it's an advanced placement course, a Cambridge course, as in this case what you're looking at, a CTE elective course. There's standards that that create the umbrella for the learning targets that happen throughout a course curriculum. And by taking a look at the standard and developing systems so that students can monitor their own learning, This results in putting students in the center and in the driving seat of their learning. So as we look at this particular slide, this is from a CTE course called Life, Money, and You. And we can see in the second vertical column, there are certain learning goals, in this case surrounding all things connected with cars in this career and technical ed course. How do we know that the student is learning? Perhaps the teacher explaining it isn't going to help everybody. Students have different ways they learn, different styles in which they learn. So we have evidence of learning where the students can check off if they've met that particular target. And this, in combination with an attentive teacher, can really accelerate student learning and student reaching goals and students starting to have confidence in themselves as learners. So we've made some significant gains academically, and I'd like to share with you this next few slides about some of the progress we've made based on national examinations. The ACT, this is the third year that Juanita has adopted the ACT, and we're a testing center for the ACT. The ACT, as all of you know, is equal in currency to the SAT when it comes to college admission. Colleges will generally take the highest score of either. Both have equal currency. The ACT is a little more popular on the East Coast, but is really used all over the country and is used by all colleges and universities. So we can see that out of an N of 78, we have 78 seniors this last year, about 25% of our senior class who took the ACT, and you can see how we compare and fare related to the state of Washington, where we're clearly above where Washington is in meeting all four standards in those particular four content areas. And in the SAT, you can see that from 2005 or 2006, moving up to the present, there's a very nice linear growth and progression with an upward spike in 2009. But if we look at the heights of those bar graphs from 2006 onward, they're going consistently up to the top with that spike in 2009. And this is really outside evidence of our work. Because all the students around the nation take the same or very similar versions of the SAT. Our advanced placement program is another example of outside evidence about how our students are doing. Currently, Juanita offers a total of 13 advanced placement courses, ranging from music theory to English language and English literature. We're committed to a thriving AP program and have expanded it a little bit over the last couple of years. Next year, we're adding 2 more courses, environmental science and AP psychology, which will be offered through the CTE network at Juanita. And in terms of how our students are doing on the AP, we're very proud of our AP results. You can see that from 2007 to this most recent testing in May of 2010, the number of students who are taking advanced placement exams, these are the number of AP papers written, has increased by nearly 80%, from about 240 students in 2007 to now upwards of 400 students in 2009 and 2010. And with that increase, the percentage of students who are achieving a score of a 3, which is the score you need to gain college credit from where you'll be attending school, the percentage of students who are meeting or exceeding standard has stayed equivalent. So we're ranging at about 70%, even though the numbers have almost doubled, not quite doubled. It's about a 78% increase in the number of students taking AP exams, and that will only increase with 2 additional AP courses coming next school year. One of the special things that happened to us this year is we began a Cambridge ACE program. The Cambridge ACE program, we're very, very proud and overjoyed to have at our school. It started with Dr. Kimball's inspiration. I remember he called myself and Heather Sinclair to his office and said, let's do something special. And what can we do? And he said, you know, there's all these top flight programs out there. Let's pick one. You guys are ready. Your faculty is amazing. You can do this. And so we researched for about a year and a half, and we proposed the Cambridge program, which is the equivalent of the old, what they used to call the British O-levels and British A-levels. They don't use that terminology any longer. They now use the IGSE level. You see, we have all these new acronyms and all these King's English now to contend with a little bit. When we met with the national coordinator of Cambridge, who's headquartered in Florida, visited our school now 4 times, and she asked me what my plan was for our invigilators. And I said, oh, that's very interesting. Can you say that in a different way, you know? And she said, oh, I'm sorry, in the King's English, invigilator means exam proctor. I assume it comes from vigil. So the Cambridge program is a program of intense rigor and high standards. The kids at Juanita in this program will compete with top flight students internationally, with the best students around the world. And we love having that program at Juanita. We're in our inaugural year. We have 28 students in our program. The buzz about the program is growing. I'm getting emails and calls, as are many people on our staff about the Cambridge program. The kids are doing great. They're a little young for our school because we started with an inaugural class of 9th graders because it's a 9th through 12th program. And Dr. Kimball has told us that we'll start with 1 class this year. We'll have another class of 30 to 32 students next year. And when we reconfigure, then we can expand it to many more classes. And the Cambridge program was selected by us. We had a choice of a few programs, IB being one of them. We really liked the Cambridge program because of its emphasis on critical thinking, which is totally in tune with what our faculty in our school and our students focus on. It really emphasizes higher order thinking skills, and it allows students to get an international certificate attesting to their learning. So in the 9th and 10th grades, students receive an IGSE certificate. So let me translate: International General Certificate of Secondary Education, which is an international credential which students in 9th and 10th grade, when they pass an end of course examination, which they call a paper, not an examination, a paper. If they pass that, they'll get an IGSE certificate. And as a senior, they can earn an ACE diploma, which is the ultimate achievement. An ACE diploma stands for Advanced International Certificate of Education. Students around the world take the same exam in a 24-hour period. The exams have to be locked up in a special safe. Ms. Lewis told me today we finally ordered our safe. And in order to earn the ACE diploma, students need 6 exam credits over, this is an oversimplification, over 3 thematic content strands, being mathematics and sciences, languages, and arts and humanities. And they need 2 credits in each of those 3 strands, at least. Not all the students are ready to be in the Cambridge program or in advanced placement, or necessarily might have come to us with some deficiencies in reading and mathematics or in other aspects of their learning. So we've developed some systems and strategies, especially with the decline of funding in targeted assistance and in safety net. We still have the students, we have to do something. So we have a terrific think tank in our building. It's called our Team Leader Group. We get together I call it my A-team. We get together and we try to solve these problems that we're grappling with. Okay, we're losing funding. What can we do to help kids who are struggling? They still need help, whether the targeted assistance funding is there or not. So we came up with two strategies. One is the Sophomore Success Academy, and this was generated by our wonderful counseling team in collaboration with counselors in our feeder schools at Finn Hill and Kamiakin. It's an 8-week program where we try to get students to positively transition to high school. It helps them with study skills, with self-confidence. We want to get them to experience a little success, and success is a funny thing. Once you experience a little, you want more and more and more. A lot of the focus is on time management and organizational skills and the things that oftentimes students transitioning to high school who struggle don't have. And we also have, this is our third year of a struggling student program. We initially started with sophomores in 2007, 2008. We surveyed our sophomore teachers and asked them for names of students who were just struggling with learning. We dedicated some leap time and some faculty meetings to, if Johnny Jones is struggling in many of his subjects, in at least 3 of his subjects, all the teachers of Johnny Jones got together around a table in the library, and talked about what works, what doesn't work, what strategies are you using, what can we try, maybe something as simple as greeting him when he comes in the door and making sure he feels welcome, or saying, well, he learns better this way, he learns better that way. We keep a record of these so that any student, any teacher who has that student in subsequent years can also use those strategies and things that we've learned as educators to help the student. We've expanded the program to include juniors as well, and actually on our Wednesday leap time will be dedicated to doing one of these roundtable sessions so that we can talk about how struggling students are learning, what's working, what's not working, what adjustments can we make. And this all fits in with the layered approach that we talked about at the beginning of the presentation about purpose, about thinking, about questioning, about formative assessment. One of the best parts of Juanita High School is Future School. Future School is an amazing place. Dr. Kimball visited us a couple of times last year and the year before, and it is a family. It's students who just haven't quite experienced success yet, or might have tremendous odds against their learning due to home situations or other life situations where even with a lot of effort, it will be really, really hard for them to learn. We bring them in, we adopt them, we have a caring, dedicated, loving staff in Future School who will literally do anything to make sure our students achieve. They're also held very accountable in Future School, and they know that it's a privilege to be there. Futures, we're very proud, last year won a Washington State Achievement Award for their extended graduation rate, which is the very, very purpose of the school, even if it takes more than 4 years, to make sure that those students graduate and earn that Juanita diploma. And we have many, many great stories and celebrations and achievements of those kids in Future School. They're very, very special, as is the staff there. Juanita is for everyone. And the whole building is focused on relationships. That's important in terms of the relationship of administration to teachers, the relationship of administration to students, and it's a two-way street in both directions. We value each other, we honor each other, we listen to each other, we respect each other, and it's easy to do because of the quality of the faculty we have. From a student level, we really value involvement in co-curricular and extracurricular activities. With the leadership of Ms. Haslinger, our student government teacher and ASB advisor, we've expanded our clubs and activities. Our sports teams had a tremendous fall. Many of our fall teams went into the state tournament. We have approximately 70% of our students in clubs and activities, and about 40% participating in sports. The research is so very clear that the more involvement kids have, the more connected they are, the more value they find at school, and really, the more they're challenged. So please take a look at this video, which seeks to depict what Juanita is really all about.
Thank you. Thank you.
To sum up our presentation, standards are very important, and learning targets are very important both for students and for faculty and for administration. We learn together, both as a faculty, and students know that they learn together as well. We're really focused on achieving, and we're very connected with our community, as you saw a couple of slides of community service in there. And this is all possible because of how great a team we are at the school. Our whole community works together, our parents, our students, our teachers, and we really are very, very proud of what we have. And I know this board has always supported us and loves our school, and we really, really appreciate that. And thank you for your patient hearing and for listening to our presentation. Thank you.
Wow. Proud to be a rebel. Parent of two, I'll tell you. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful presentation, and you guys do such great work and have for a number of years. So thank you all, and look at all of you that are here. Did you want to have your staff stand up for us so we can
Sing, dance.
We heard their cheers, so how about if they at least tell us
Be
who
careful
all's
what you
here?
ask for, Dr. Kimball. We have our drama people, our music people, so you might get singing. But would everybody from Juanita please stand up? That'd be great.
That's a great turnout.
Chris,
Wow.
yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Where you have a presentation for National Merit, if you would mind sitting through that, and then you just feel free to go. I know you have work to do and like to rest up before you start school tomorrow. So,
Yep. Actually, first, Jackie, we tonight have Greg Lubdell here, who
right,
is the Chief Executive of the Center for Educational Effectiveness. And Greg's nonprofit organization, oh, is Greg not here?
no.
No. Okay.
And another rebel just walking
Another
forward.
rebel, just, yes. Sue. we have Sue here, who is, as you all know, an ex-Lake Washington School District extraordinaire teacher and friend, and she works with Greg at the Center for Educational Effectiveness, and their company sponsors an award called the School of Distinction, and the School of Distinction Award is a pretty special award in that it is all about improvement. And they track over a 5-year period of time consistent improvement in both reading and math over 5 years, and they award this award to the top 5% of improvers, if you will, in the state. And John Muir Elementary School was awarded the School of Distinction inside of our district. And so, Sue, why don't you take it from here? Oh, yeah.
Okay. Chip and I are in the same Rotary Club, and about 3 weeks ago, Chip came up and pulled me aside. He goes, "I've got to tell you something that happened this morning." And he had called in an emergency meeting at Muir and had shown up, and of course, off to the side, Jeff had a cake and a celebration all planned for Muir Elementary, but the staff didn't know. There. Oh, there we go. I'll back up a little. And it was to honor them as a school, one of 93 schools in our state who won the School of Distinction for 2010. So he said there were tears of joy, quite literally. And that's, that's the passion that brings me here tonight. And I'm so thrilled to see my, fellow Rebel teachers and, staff here. I left them in '99, and it's been a wonderful journey to start this organization, and a year and a half later hire Greg Lobdell to be our Director of Research. And he sends his apologies. He was planning on being here, but he has been identifying the persistently low-achieving schools for the state of Washington, which was due in Randy Dorn's office a couple days ago, and so he's just up to his little eyeballs. And, but he turned to me as we were going through the list when the 93 schools were identified, and we always look for our favorites. And when I say favorites, I mean the districts that we work with a lot. And both Greg Lobdell and I came from the Lake Washington School District and live in the district and have a real connection to it. And he goes, wow, he says, Muir Elementary, won this year for Lake Washington. And he goes, wow. And I go, what does that mean? And he goes, well, let me explain something to you. And so he started telling me about the demographics of Muir Elementary. And Muir Elementary has 50% poverty, which is defined by free and reduced lunch. They have, and then I pulled Jeff aside, and I made sure I had everything correct. They have 24 different languages spoken at that school. 28% of their student body is in English language learner programs, and 52% of its student body is non-white. So I said, that's not what you think of when you think of the Lake Washington School District. And what it reminds us all is that we are a changing society. Our demographics are changing rapidly. And when that happens, the instructional process and the support systems that are put in place for students have to change, because it is not the same student body that you had 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. And Jeff let me know that 5 years ago there was 42% poverty at Muir Elementary. So an 8% poverty change in 5 years. That's the period of time over which we looked at the statistics for the achievement of this particular award for improvement. So when you consider that that improvement happened over the time that such significant demographic shifts were also happening, it makes it that much more extraordinary. And so I really commend Muir Elementary. They were present last Thursday night down at John Stanford Center in Seattle. They received their award. It was a very, very touching ceremony for everyone, because we as a state do a very good job of recognizing high-achieving schools. We haven't historically recognized the highest improving, who are on their way to being highest achieving. And so, I know to the staff members who are sitting in this audience who work so hard at making a difference for students, that recognizing that hard work is really important to sustain that work, because it's really hard uphill work. So congratulations to Muir. I did bring a banner because I know that they would love to have their picture taken with their school board. I hope someone's got a camera here. And I want to just say thank you very, very much. And to the board, thank you for the support that I know. Because you know what? These are little rebels.
Absolutely. How exciting.
So Jeff, would you have your staff come up and we'll, it looks like Gloria has a camera.
Gloria's got a camera. John's got a camera.
Yep.
Well, I do want to say that it is an honor to accept this on behalf of the John Muir Learning Community, because the staff works so hard. And as I always say, the students at John Muir, I always say, there will be no student in the Lake Washington School District or the state of Washington who works harder than the students at John Muir Elementary. And we work hard every day to prove that. But the teachers work together so well. They collaborate. I think this is a testimony to teachers working together on behalf of student achievement, using data to inform what we're doing for kids, and then just trying to make it all happen in a warm, caring, and nurturing environment for our kids. But this came at just the right time for John Muir. We needed this award. So.
And
Here.
I need to say something. Before, I need to say something. After the picture? Say something.
Okay, of course.
You want us down there too?
Your board's coming down to you. We'd be glad to.
Okay, get cozy, get smiling. Come on, here we go. All right, everybody look at the camera and say cheese. Squeeze in. Squeeze in. Okay, good. That's it. Keep going. I got to turn the HD on now. Now we're going to get all of that. There we go.
Get it?
Yeah, we're good. I'm good. As usual.
I know.
Yes, perfect way to celebrate our community over there.
Okay, so now I get to talk. Yes. I'm also a very proud Muir parent. I'm going to start crying. I really am.
You are. It's okay.
You know, my kids still, they're adults now, but they so valued that whole everything about Muir. So that's about all I'm going to be able to say. It is a terrific school.
I'm sorry we're not on TV tonight to let everybody else know how wonderful we are over in Juanita.
So I will speak on behalf of our board member, Nancy Bernard, who, the staff of Muir and, frankly, all of you in the Juanita learning community just need to know that you have an entire board that advocates for absolutely every single student in this district, regardless of the color of their skin, the language they speak, or the home that they come from. This board advocates to the nth degree in order to make sure that every kid is served. And they know that all they can do is provide the environment for you to work And it's really your work every day, day in and day out, that makes a difference for these kids. And you do make a difference, and we know that, and you deserve every bit of this award, so congratulations.
So after what Sue said, so you called this emergency staff meeting.
Yes.
And I was in the garden, and my neighbor who works at Muir asked, Nancy, what's this meeting with Chip that he called? And I'm going, I have no clue. I think they were a little nervous.
They were nervous.
And it wasn't until later that I found out and could go, yay.
Yes, which makes it so much more fun.
Yeah, you really had them wondering what this was all about.
Jackie, the next thing we have in recognition tonight, before public comment and we can let all these people go home, is we do have the honor of recognizing our National Merit semifinalists and commended scholars tonight from Redmond High School. And we have Associate Principal Lloyd Higgins tonight, who is here to honor these tremendous students who are demonstrating their capability and talk a little bit about their future. Lloyd?
Thank you, and proud to be part of Lake Washington School District. So a lot of things are happening great in our district. I have a list of about 41 names that I will go through those names. And if students are here tonight, I don't know how many students were able to make it tonight, but if you hear your name, I'd like for you to come forward, and if you would, say just a few words. I have comments on all of them, but I thought maybe I shouldn't take an hour and 20 minutes to talk about each one of the students. So, and I'm going to just start out with our, is that loud enough? Everybody can hear me? I'm going to start out with our commended students in the 2011 National Merit Program, starting with Marco Alban Hildagel, Caleb Berg, Melissa Boyer, Grant Butler, Christopher Chalmers, Benjamin Chu, Benjamin Chow, Christopher Chu, Paul Credu, Alexander Dietz, Sean Fitzmaurice, Emily Graves, Travis Guti, Johnson Shea, Felicia Johnston, Koyo Kim, Madeline Kinzer, Cassandra Lawrence, Jacob Levin, Mana Maloney, Chini Mandava, Marianne Ostertag, Anan Rugaran Raman, hope that's close, Ava Rungi, Curtis Rush, Mylan Vu, Elliot Wise. Commended students, and if you guys will step over and just say your name and then just a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Paul Cretu. I'm a senior this year at Redmond High School, and I want to thank Redmond High School for giving me the opportunity to take, making the PSAT accessible and giving us a great education. Yeah, thanks.
I'm Cassandra Lawrence, and I'm also a senior at Redmond High School. And I'd also like to thank Redmond High School for providing a great education.
Can you tell us what you're planning on doing? We would love to hear maybe college choices, career choices. That would be great.
Okay. So I plan to go into computer science. Haven't decided on a college yet. And I plan to pursue computer science and possibly economics.
I am hoping to study education and somewhere in Seattle, probably Seattle Pacific if possible.
Okay, the next award is for the National Hispanic Recognition Program 2010-2011 finalist. And those young people are Marco Alban Hidalgo, I think, Zachary Camara, Joseph Costello, Alexander Pereira. Those people here.
I'm Joey Costello. I'm a senior, and I am heavily involved in DECA, and I plan to major in business, probably at Seattle U.
It's a good place.
Hi, I'm Zach Kamara, and I'm a senior at Redmond High School, and I'm planning on majoring in computer science, and I've applied to the UW so far, and I'd just really like to thank my parents for everything they've done for me to get me up here. It means a lot.
Hi. There we go. Hi, I'm Alexander Pereira. I'm a senior at Redmond High and a Running Start second-year student. I'm planning also to major in computer science, probably at the UW Bothell. And yeah.
The next program is for the 2011 National Achievement Program Outstanding Participants Referred to Colleges. And we have two students, Derek Horner and Preston Horner.
I'm actually here for my brother, who's actually in Phoenix for a soccer tournament right now. Me and him we're twins, so we kind of have the same college path, funny enough. But yeah, I want to thank Redmond High School for giving me an education, my wonderful mother over there taking pictures as usual. And for college choices, I've kind of applied to a lot of schools. Don't really have a top choice as of so far. I've applied to like 6 different ones, American, USC, just the list goes on. And as far as majoring, I'm not really sure. Maybe something like political science or marketing, something like that. So I'm not sure. But I want to thank you guys again for giving me this honor, and for Preston too. So.
We have one National Achievement Scholarship Program semifinalist, and that is Zachary Lightus. Is Zachary here? Okay. And then finally, we have semifinalists in the 2011 National Merit Scholarship Competition, and those students are Logan Dory, Darian French Owen, Reluka Ephraim, Chris Lim, John Lyon, Jeffrey McNerney, Joseph Mercer, Arjun Narjnam, I think that I probably messed up that name, and Benjamin Wright. So, one of those persons.
Hi, I'm Logan Doherty, and I'm a senior at Redmond. And I'm interested in going to UW or maybe Dartmouth, and I'm interested in pre-law or pre-med or maybe business. And I just want to thank Redmond High School because we have such a strong academic and community programs. They're great, and I want to thank my parents for supporting me.
And I'd like to thank the school board for allowing us this opportunity to show off some of our students. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming, and also for the students that were able to come. We know this is a busy time of year for everybody, and so we always appreciate when students are able to make it over to allow us to have the opportunity to recognize you. But we love to see how wonderful our students are doing across the district academically, and so congratulations to all of you, and thank you, parents. Without you, they wouldn't be where they are, and your support. Okay, if you would like to leave, we'll let you go home. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see all of you.
Stay if you want to.
But you don't have to. We love company. It's not a throw you out the door kind of thing. Otherwise. That's all. Okay, I didn't mean to clear the room for you, honest. Yes, yes, and you're going to come and speak to us. It's time for our public comment, and I have Cheryl Lewis here with us. I was just saying to Chip, I was going to have them stay so they could hear the report on the basket auction, but last time I did that, then we had about 4 or 5 people jump up from the audience, and I thought, oh, and I kept them here longer than I intended. So, but they would have heard wonderful news.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
You know me and technology, Chip. I just don't do very well with it. So, anyway, I'm Cheryl Lewis, PTA Council President, and boy, just so many thoughts went through my head just watching the presentation and everything. It's like, you know, all the feeder schools that go into Anita, you need to do a big open house. We really need to get them all together so that they can really celebrate and have this hope and inspiration when they get up into the higher grades, because I was just awed. It's like, maybe I'll have to variance my kid to the other side of the district. It was pretty cool. Anyway, I wanted to report to you that we had the scholarship basket auction last Thursday, and we went far and above beyond what we had expected to bring in, and so we're very excited to report we have almost $6,700 in the scholarship fund for our graduating seniors, so that means we'll be able to give out more scholarships, and I can see why we're going to be busy doing that with all of these great students that came through here with their aspirations and dreams. And Nancy, I can totally relate to you on your tears, because I was back there with you. Even though I don't have a child at your school, I could probably relate to that. So anyway, we just wanted to thank everybody for support of our scholarships. And Nancy, I have your basket in the back. I'll check with you later. Oh, she's got it all right here. Just wanted to say have a nice holiday and get rest, and we'll be ready to start in January. I know we've got a lot to take care of, and yes, we do. We'll all need the rest to kind of move forward with there. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That's right. We should applaud for having PTSA and PTSA success.
Yeah.
Without their help. Okay, on to consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Chip, would you pull the board, please?
Nancy?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Ravi?
Yes.
And Chris is excused.
Okay.
As is our tradition, if we could look at tab number 10, where we'd like to highlight our donations that are found in the consent agenda. Tonight we have $75,768 in donations. This includes a $1,400 donation and 95 cents from the Lake Washington Schools Foundation to Samantha Smith Elementary to purchase audiobooks for their learning through listening program. $7,384 from the Redmond Junior PTSA to Redmond Junior High School for a variety of things, including a school banner, positive behavior incentive items, lanyards and badges, microphones, portable museum, computer mouse for special education netbooks, historical fiction books, caught reading, digital picture frame, stools, copies of books, and additional items. We have an $1,865 donation from the Einstein PTSA to Einstein Elementary for student directories and their Nature Vision program. $5,940 donation from the Frost PTSA to Frost Elementary School to provide teacher stipends for student council and stipends for the Math Olympiad team as well. A $12,075 donation from the Franklin PTSA to Franklin Elementary School to provide stipends for safety patrol, student leadership, their KFN news, choir and drama, green team, intramurals, outdoor ed, intermediate intervention, and primary intervention. We have a $6,922 donation from Rosa Parks PTSA to Rosa Parks Elementary for their stipends for their cribbage club, drama club, math club, and after-school choral music. We have an $8,050 donation from the Inglewood Junior High School PTSA to Inglewood Junior High to support their YES program and Think Tank program. $2,500 donation from the Redmond Elementary PTSA to Redmond Elementary Schools to support field trips. $2,983 donation from the Environmental Adventure School PTO to that school for outdoor education curriculum development. $1,243 donation from the Bell PTSA to Bell Elementary School to provide for the book fair for their library. $4,100 donation from the Kirkland Junior PTSA to Kirkland Junior High to provide stipend for tutoring and homework clubs. A $5,000 donation from the Houghton Keller PTSA to Keller Elementary School to support grants for their library, music, and classroom enrichment programs. A $1,695 donation from the Carl Sandburg PTSA to Sandburg Elementary School to provide stipends for their after-school music program. $10,530 donation from the Horace Mann PTSA to Mann Elementary School for a variety of materials, including their level readers, science kits, nonfiction texts, Step Up to Writing materials, their arithmetic program, and 5 sets of active votes. A $4,077 donation for their Meade PTSA to Meade Elementary School for their accelerated math, accelerated reading program, web tech support stipends, patrol support, and choir. Again, for a total of $75,768. And I just did want to comment real quickly, Jackie, that you'll notice that lots of these are for extracurricular programs, and really I think the only way that our extracurriculars would be possible in this economy is through the generous support and continued advocacy of our PTSAs.
I agree, and I was going to also comment that in past years, what you would see a lot of our donations were for the field trips and extra enrichment type things during the day, bringing in assemblies and that sort of stuff. And more and more you're seeing things to support after-school activities that they can do in the forms of stipends, and some stipends that, like for choir and outdoor ed and for various activities that used to be able to be covered by the district, that no longer can cover those stipends to have those programs, and yet they are valuable to the schools and to the students. So without our PTSA and our supporters, we would have lots less going on in the buildings to augment what we do with basic education for kids. Okay, non-consent agenda time.
Thanks, Jackie. Under tab 11, we have the selection of committee members for the February 2011 King County election voters pamphlet. As you know, we have elected as a school district to participate in the voters pamphlet for the February 2011 levy that has been authorized to be put on the ballot by the school board. This levy, as you know, is a capital facilities levy in order to deal with the overcrowding issues in the district, and would fund the construction of a number of facilities to deal with that overcrowding problem. To be included in the voters pamphlet, the board must solicit pro and con committees with a maximum of 3 members each to prepare arguments advocating voters' approval or rejection of the ballot measure. So those are pro and con statements. Members can be appointed from people who are known to favor or oppose the measure. And if such people are not immediately known, then the board is asked to advertise for those statements. The district does have an established promotional committee, the Lake Washington Citizens Levy Committee. So that committee was asked to provide names of citizens who might be able to provide that pro statement. And that committee did provide 3 names, Byron Schutz, Johanna Palmer, and Carrie Nielsen. All are volunteer community members who are sitting on the Citizens Levy Committee and are promoting the Lake Washington School District levy. Because there's no known opposition, no formal opposition, we began advertising on November 24th on the district website for any citizens who were interested in providing their names to be brought forward to the board in order to be selected for a con statement. We closed that on December 1st, and we did not hear any responses from any citizens being interested in being considered. And as a result, there are no names for the board to select. So this situation recommendation is asking the board to nominate the Citizens Levy Committee to prepare a promotional statement in support of Proposition Number 1 that will be submitted for the voters pamphlet, and no con statement will be submitted as no citizen expressed interest in drafting an opposition statement.
So this means there will be no con statement in the voters pamphlet that we're paying multiple thousands of dollars for.
That is correct.
And
That's
so
nice.
where did you advertise it?
On the district website, starting on November 24th and going through December 1st.
What are the requirements for how we request?
The requirements are that we use formal advertising, a formal process. We did check with a number of districts in the region to find out what they did as well, and posting it on their website and then making an announcement of that was a pretty typical process.
Okay. Did any of them ever receive any?
Janine, did you guys do the background on this?
I know the one from last time when I was looking at ours, there were no cons in the February that went by in my voters pamphlet.
Some districts have had members that have written a con statement. I do not know, Robbie, if they are from an organized opposition that already existed or if they were identified through the solicitation process. So I can't answer that specifically for each district.
Okay.
If someone were to, after hearing this tonight or going online and listening to us, and when's our deadline? This was it, wasn't it, as far as approving in order to get things into the
board has to formally approve the names, and this is our last board meeting before they don't need to be written until a little bit later in December, but the board needs to act upon them. So since this was our last meeting, that's why we went ahead and did the formal this time, knowing that they needed to be written before, of course, our January meeting. Yeah. It's like the third week in December that they're due.
Yeah. Robbie, one thing that is probably a little bit atypical is that normally we would have, in addition to advertising on the website, we would have announced it during the last board meeting, but since the board meeting was canceled due to snow, that actually precluded us from doing that part of the process.
I see. Okay.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the names presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Before we go on, I'm just curious because Nancy mentioned the cost, and I know I've mentioned it to several people in talking because they said, "Are you going to have a voters pamphlet?" And I said, "Yes." And I said, "But you do know that the district pays for this?" And they said, "Oh, really?" Because they were very surprised to hear that it wasn't something that was paid for by King County and by the elections. And I said, no, it is the district. So just out of curiosity, what is our cost to do this?
It's about $17,000.
About $17,000 to produce this.
And mail it.
And have it mailed.
Yep.
Plus the voters pamphlet component, not the holding the election.
Because we pay for the election as well.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think those are parts of the process that people do not realize. It is whoever's putting the motion or measures on the ballot that have the burden of cost is on them, not on the county or on the elections. Okay, I'll entertain then, or I won't entertain, I already have. All those in favor of approving this, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, motion carried. And I just would like to do a reminder while we're here on talking about the levy, that those of you listening at home, please, if you have questions and want to know more about the details, the website, there's a frequently asked questions page, and there's also in there a page on the modernization plan, which is totally separate from what we're doing with this capital levy. But if you would like to get more information about both of those, there's lots of wealth of information on the district website.
Great, thanks, Jackie. Under tab 12, we also have for your consideration tonight the appointment of a hearing examiner to conduct a public hearing for new secondary school site 73. When we normally contemplate the construction of a building, part of our normal process is when we actually conduct a hearing to ensure that the possible construction is in compliance with the King County Development Standards. And the board is asked to either conduct that hearing or appoint a hearing examiner who will conduct that hearing on behalf of the board and then bring up a report and a recommendation back to the board. This, it's important to note that this is being done before the levy is passed that would authorize the funding for this particular project. And so one might say, isn't the cart being put before the horse a little bit? And certainly one could come to that conclusion. However, we have a bit of a timing problem. As you recall, originally this work was scoped in the bond that was proposed in February of 2010, and as you know, did not meet the supermajority requirement in order to pass. Had that bond passed, we would have conducted the hearing and then gone ahead and moved forward with planning for that school. As you know, part of the requirement for getting this built is dealing with a significant overcrowding problem that we have that is going to all come to bear on us in the fall of 2012. In order to get construction completed by the fall of 2012, which is an extremely rapid, accelerated timeline, we actually have to get this work done now. We, of course, will not be breaking ground, will not be spending any money on materials until the levy is passed. And if the levy doesn't pass, we will mothball the project and come up with a plan B. But in order to make the timeline, we actually do have to go ahead and execute this work immediately. So this recommendation is about a recommendation to have the board appoint a hearing examiner to go ahead and conduct a public hearing in lieu of you conducting that public hearing, and that hearing examiner will then bring a report and a recommendation back to you.
And that's just on putting this modular building up and associated other things on that piece of property.
Yes.
For a school.
For a secondary school, correct. And this is Site 73, which is adjacent to Alcott Elementary School. So that's the site that we're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I was
I don't remember all the details, but are we going to have problems with all the issues with growth management and Redmond and transportation and all that sort of stuff? No?
Forrest is nodding no, but why don't you come and speak to that first? Thank you.
This is a special requirement for any district in King County that's in the unincorporated King County that is putting a high school before the county. And so it's part of the conditional use process. We've already made in our studies, we know that we have no problem with traffic concurrency. We have no problem with the 30% clearing of the site and so forth. That is, we don't have that requirement at this site. So we're all okay in terms of all the different requirements that King County has. Just, and since this is connected to a conditional use permit, one of the requirements by King County, since it is has a high school component to it, is to have a hearings examiner conduct a hearing, or to have the board conduct a hearing. It's your choice.
Is this an opportunity for the public to comment on our use of the site?
That's correct.
Okay, and what role does traffic play in this? You're saying we meet the county standards?
We meet the county standards according to traffic concurrency. That's correct. There's no concern with that. It's already been verified by a third-party traffic consultant and already reviewed with King County.
What about sewage and water?
There is sewer in the street that was put in there quite a long time ago. There's a grocery store down the street. I don't know, I can't remember if it's Albertsons or something.
Yep.
And we've connected Alcott already to that, as well as there's plenty of capacity in the street for that to be connected to.
Sounds easy.
I find it interesting. Was there a history about why they have the public hearing for when you want to build a high school, but they don't when you want to build any other kind of school?
A lot of it has to do with the size of the school as well as the traffic component.
Okay.
So those are the big items.
Thank you.
And as you all know, of course, this is not a traditional high school.
Correct.
It will not have the size or scope of what you would think of as
What about
regards to-
parking? Will we put as much parking, proportionally on this side as we do for a traditional high school?
We're working on those details now. I think we don't want to drive the parking requirements until we actually have the program determined, and I'll be bringing that to the board here in the next month to talk about the program, and then we can talk about the facility as it relates to that.
And I just want to reiterate that while this seems, again, like someone might at home say, my goodness, they're just going ahead like they passed the levy and they've got the money, that's not the purpose here. There is a timing issue. We have to have some ducks in a row in order to be able to proceed should the levy pass in February. But it's still up to our voters to make that decision for us, and we're not assuming one way or the other. Of course, we're hopeful, but we're not assuming anything. It's just that this is just stuff that needs to be done preliminarily so that we be ready to proceed should we be fortunate enough to have the levy pass.
Well, and it's not that this idea is new. We've had this idea on the back burner when we had the capacity
Correct.
capabilities. So it's just everything starting to come together. Now we need the voters' approval.
Yep. And it is, as we mentioned, a very short timeline. Even with this, we are going to be hard-pressed to finish on time, but we do think it's doable should we continue to proceed right now. If we wait another 60 days, we would not be able to make the timeline.
I'll move approval.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Second.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay.
I guess I should have said anybody opposed. Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Next, under tab 13 is our non-consent is the board monitoring the board policy of ER 2 and 3. And I would like to invite Dr. Tracy Pierce to the podium to walk us through. And just a background for the public's benefit, one of the roles that the board plays is the monitoring of what we call our end results policies. And we bring to the board, usually beginning in the fall, the end results for the primary grades, then the intermediate grades, then our junior high school program, our high school program, and then ultimately our graduation rates. And these end results are the way that the board evaluates as a system whether or not we're performing to expectations. We have been tried a number of different formats on reporting end results to you so that you can best understand from a big picture perspective how we're performing. Tracy's passing around a summary page that actually gives you a glimpse of those results. In her last presentation, there were a number of thoughts around changing the format of both the presentation and the summary, and those are being reflected in her presentation tonight. So again, because this is kind of our first round, I'm going to ask you after the presentation if there's any ways that you want to reformat the reporting to go ahead and make those comments and get them to us. Otherwise, Tracy, intermediate achievement.
Okay. So as Chip mentioned, tonight is end result 2 and 3, leading indicators for grades 3 through 6. And just as a reminder, we revamped, as Chip mentioned, our end result reporting calendar and also our policy language that specifies what should be included in the reports. So our calendar is as follows, and we are just a little off based on our snow day. So junior high will be coming up in, is it December? January, and also senior high. So what our policy language specifies is that the monitoring data will be disaggregated by groups,
and will include multiple measures built upon actual individual student performance data, and will show appropriate progression of a class performance over time and show cohort data. So that's what we are striving to accomplish with this new format of end result monitoring. This next slide has to do with end result 1, which we'll be coming back later to do. Specifically, end result 2 and 3, we focus on multi-year report card data, multi-year district assessment data, which currently is embedded in the report card data, and also multi-year state assessment data. Later in the junior high report, you'll see some of the other things such as the state technology assessment, et cetera. So tonight we are focusing on grades 3 through 6, which is currently the class of 2019, current fourth graders, 2018 current fifth graders, and 2017 current sixth graders. So we look at the data from third, fourth, and fifth grade. The multiple measures included are the state assessment, which is either the WASL, as it was formerly known, or the measurements of student progress, which is the new state assessment, the MSP, and report card data. And we do disaggregate the data by group and program participation. We also have the data disaggregated by poverty for state assessment. So we'll start with the class of 2019. These are our current fourth graders. In terms of an overview, we've got, we start with reading, and what we have based on the report card measure and the state assessment measure. So we've got our current fourth graders, second grade report card, and third grade report card. And you can see that approximately 88% of them are meeting the standard in reading, and that is good in terms of agreement with what the outcome of the state assessment based on their third grade MSP. For writing, we look at their first, second, and third grade report card. We don't have a state assessment yet for these students because they don't take it until this year as fourth graders. For writing, we look at content and conventions on the report card, and you can see that their performance remains pretty stable, increasing somewhat in the area of content by the time they get to third grade. For math, we look at the report card. Problem solving and reasoning for all three grades in number sense is included in the third grade. And we do have state assessment data for these students as well. You can see that the level of agreement between the report card performance and state assessment performance in math is not as good as it is in reading and writing. And you've got a summary sheet in front of you where we highlight some of our areas of strength and areas of question or concern in the data, and so I'll be referring to that sheet periodically. We do have a new math adoption that we're implementing this year, so we expect some of our district actions in terms of math to improve some of this data as we go along. Nancy?
So what I'm hearing you're saying is that the MSP might be more accurate than the report card? Or are you not going that far?
Not going that far. What we're saying is we don't have in reading and writing, when we look at the report card data and the state assessment data, we have good levels of agreement. We don't have as good of a level of agreement with math, and so that's a question for us. Why is that? Is it that we're grading too easy in terms of the report card? Are the standards not aligning properly? Is it because there's a new state assessment this year and it's different?
Right. I mean, what do we know about the quality of the MSP?
We know that this past year was the first year. Now with this current grade, this current class of, they didn't have a previous year assessment. So we can look at some of the other grades and see that when they took the WASL, and now there's a dip between their WASL performance and their MSP performance, and that's pretty typical of what's happened across the state because the assessment is different. However, with this current group that we're looking at, class of 2019, their current fourth graders, the first time they took the MSP was last year.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, do we have any idea? I mean, there were lots of complaints about the WASL. Mm-hmm. There are lots of improvements made in the WASL. Then they threw out the WASL. We have the MSP, and I don't hear as much. I don't know, because people are resigned to it, or is it you know, is it an improvement over the WASL, or will we know? You know, do we have a feel for how good an assessment tool it is?
I think we don't quite yet because we only have 1 year. And we will have a better sense of that when we've got a couple of years of data. It's not hugely different from the WASL, but it is somewhat different. So, you know, we can come back with some comparisons if that would be helpful. I mean, if you wanted to see the difference between the WASL and the MSP. But I don't think
And how you feel about it and how, you know, staff feel about it as an assessment tool. I mean, just because of the hoopla over changing the name doesn't tell me anything about changing it as an assessment tool.
You know, what I'd suggest is that let us get a read from some of our folks that are administering it, because I think what you're asking is, how do they feel about it as it relates to, is it a better measure or worse measure, et cetera, as it compares, and almost an anecdotal response. So why don't I get that for you and put that in a brief to the board, because I think it's a good question, and we could guess. I don't think, frankly, people are particularly positive about it, but it's just kind of my sense of it. So why don't we get a better sense of it and get that back to you?
Do we get to take a look at the test ourselves, not just look at how our kids do, but does somebody, you know, like a Dan Phelan, get to actually look at the entire test?
No, we're actually
or somebody who does
prohibited-
assessment?
We're actually prohibited from
That's what I thought.
looking at the test in its entirety. The state has released items that we can look at, so we can look at portions of it, but when we get the test booklets, we're not allowed to, and teachers aren't, anyone isn't allowed to go through the booklet and really take a look at the test. So we're kind of limited to looking at the released items from the state.
That our professionals, our experts on test taking and assessment can't even evaluate this tool. We have to depend on the state people. I find that so hugely frustrating.
It's a little bit of a slap in the face of the professionalism of our people, yes, but it is the system. Probably the person on our team that has the closest knowledge of this at this point is Linda Stevens, who's our coordinator of assessment. And so I'll ask her to give us her views of this question that you posed.
Thanks.
Oops. Okay, so that's kind of the overview, and then we get into looking at our students' performance on each of these measures and some of the disaggregation. So just, I won't read every slide to you, but just so you can see how it's set up. The measure here is specified. So for example, this shows the second and third grade report cards and the third grade MSP together on one slide, which is something that you had indicated that you would like to see last time when we were doing the primary end result. And then the total number of students reflected is here for the measure. For example, on this slide, there are 1,849 students here in the second grade report card, 1,896 on the third grade report card, 1,979 in the third grade MSP. Some of the differences in the numbers have to do with in our previous report card, sometimes teachers could slash or not provide a grade, and some of the changes that we've made in the report card are kind of updating that so we get good data. So sometimes there's just differences. There's also differences in new kids coming into the district. Although it's the same class of, it's not a clean cohort of students, so there obviously is additional students in third grade than were there in second grade, if that makes sense. But I just wanted to explain how the slide deck is set up before we go on.
Yeah, but it's really, to me, it's startling when you look at it this way that our report card data and the MSP data has such a huge difference in those exceeding the standard, let alone that little bit of difference in those not at standard.
Right, so if looking at this, especially third grade report card to third grade MSP, you could say that we are holding students to a higher standard, potentially, than they're being held to on the MSP. But if you look at the band, really, of, the number of students meeting or exceeding standard, they're pretty similar.
Right.
Okay. And then we get into the disaggregation for the measure. So this is we only disaggregate on their current, most recent performance. So this is based on their third grade report card. The number in each band is reflected here below. If it's under 10, we don't report that because it could be personally identifiable. This is for the third grade MSP. You'll see that we continue to see some of our achievement gaps in the same groups of students. And then we get into the program disaggregation. So this is third grade report card for students receiving special education services, students classified as ELL, and students who are in either full-time or pull-out Quest. And this is their third grade MSP. You'll see on the state assessment slides is where we're able to also disaggregate by poverty. So this is our data for low-income students. There are 307 students reflected in this band.
Why do you have low income for MSP but not for the report card?
That it currently is how we have the data classified as we have it spec'd to be able to report that in the data dashboard when we launch the data dashboard. But right now, currently, the way the data is loaded into the system, we don't have students classified as based on free and reduced lunch, the way that they're loaded into our system for report cards, et cetera. So right now we're limited to being able to disaggregate on the state data, but we will in the future be able to disaggregate based on report card and our other own internal measures.
Okay.
Okay, then we've got getting into writing for third grade. This is the report card, content, and conventions. Then we get disaggregation for content, disaggregation for conventions. We're finding that students are across the board scoring lower in conventions than they are in content. Here's for program participation for content, for conventions. And then we get into math. Want me to go back?
Do you want to do questions on each section, or do you want me to save them all to the end, or how do you prefer?
Chip.
Okay, yeah, I think that's probably going to be easier to keep track of. So, let's see, can you go back to slide 18? I don't know if you have the numbers there. Back.
Yeah, I don't have them numbered, so
back.
You can just tell me when to stop.
Forward. There. Okay. So on this one, I find low income without non-low income kind of hard to interpret, right? Because the other categories on this slide are not really comparable to it, right? It doesn't make sense to compare Quest and low income, for example.
I agree.
Right.
Yeah, so we could develop a slide that has the total of all students, or non-low income students, as opposed to low income.
I would think maybe everyone, low income, not low income, and then actually, if you can stay on that slide for a second, I have some other. ELL also, I find it's sort of tautological for reading and writing that they're not going to do that well, right? For math, I can see it, but for reading and writing, that's kind of why they're there, right? So I find it more interesting to have, say, ELL students who had exited the program or something like that. Right?
Well, then they're just regular. Then aren't they just in the regular numbers?
And ideally, they will do as well as everyone else then, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is what
Yeah.
I'd want to verify. I mean, essentially guaranteed to do worse than the general population on reading and writing. Right?
Do we
Like,
keep statistics on kids once they move back out or move out of ELL separately from the regulars, students?
I believe so, that we can, that we do. I don't know if it's, I'll need to look into that a little bit more.
And
I know we
I'd
have
suggest
data
that
about
that may
students from
actually be something that we might do in an EL report around the ELL program.
Right.
Which is what are the number of kids and how do ELL kids do after they've exited the program, et cetera. That may be a
More
EL
appropriate.
issue rather than an ENS.
I don't see. To me, it's just how are we disaggregating this? Like to see that all students are, reaching the goals that we're setting out.
But you'd like it to be a number that they don't have to, that they can easily.
Yeah, I mean,
Get the data.
Don't take this as I'm trying to tell you exactly what to provide. Like, see what makes sense out of this and figure out how to.
And
make that happen.
do you, so how long exited or ever been in a program, and does that make a difference?
See, I think that's it, yeah.
But I'm not sure it's a good idea for me to tell you the exact answer to that right now. Like, think about what you can do that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Well, isn't tracking how long kids are in ELL before they exit the program part of our reporting?
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah, and aren't the feds, is it the feds that are talking about limiting the amount of time kids can be in ELL or the amount of time they're going to pay for it? Did I see that recently?
Yeah, there was something on that.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Is that part of Title VII money?
I don't know.
Okay.
And one other thing, this one might be, I don't know if this is harder to do, but ELL is also, actually I have two more comments. ELL is it's kind of an interesting category. It's like especially in a district like this, there's at least two very different groups in ELL, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like, say, for example, like kids of Microsoft parents and like kids who are like more like low income ELL. And I'm not sure that lumping them all into one category really does it justice as far as, the way we disaggregate to make sure that everyone is reaching their goals.
Yeah, but with a number of 73 as a total, do you start
I think that's
whittling that down
that's a good
tighter,
point,
you're going to
too.
get
I think we need
closer
to
and
leave
closer
it.
where you can identify, so that gets to be an issue too. Because it's not a huge number to begin with in this.
Yeah, fair enough.
Wait a minute. I hadn't looked at that before. We have more than 73 fourth grade ELL students in this district, don't we?
Not according to this data, no.
Because I asked the same thing about low income, but when we did the percentage, it's about right, when you figure that there's about,
Oh, it's just a
1900.
weird way to look at the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You figure that there's 1,800 to 2,000 kids per class, so that's your divisor.
Yeah.
So that's, 7%, 6%.
And we don't have ELL everywhere.
Right.
Right.
I guess living where I do, it just, I
I did
the same
expected it to be bigger.
Maybe the end becomes too small, but okay. So the other thing
Well,
is,
and that's the thing, yeah, I don't know.
It may be better to do ELL as when you look at the broad program and how kids do once they, in the year or two post, or when they, after exiting, and compare overall, because your numbers will be bigger.
I think we do that too in the EL7, though, don't we?
And that's, I think, what Chip was trying to
Yeah.
say would be a better place for it.
I don't
To
know.
evaluate
I
the
don't
program
want
as
to
a
totally
whole.
scrap it from here.
No, I don't
but,
either.
No, I don't think you scrap it, but I don't know that you can do the
Yeah.
other piece there, too.
Well, okay. So the other thing is, I'm not sure it's that meaningful to get the Quest data here. It's like, if you look at every single graph in this whole PowerPoint deck where there's Quest, like, unsurprisingly, they're doing very well, right?
Yeah, but if they weren't, then something's wrong. I mean, they're reporting on what is, not just on
But the
things we don't know.
I guess to me it's sort of like putting ELL reading and writing. It's like that's why they're there, right? Like, of course they're not doing that well in it, right? Like for Quest, like we test for people who do well in all of these things, and then we measure them here.
I still don't get where you're going, because this is a report on where we are in these areas.
Yeah, I think it just shows effectiveness of program that continues to be effective.
I don't think it does show the effectiveness of the program. I think it just shows that we correctly screen for students who do well at all of these things.
Well,
Right, but
Well, that's a
if
good
if we
point.
came up, if
All right, if you guys want
if
to
that
define, I'm just
quest bar
okay, that's
looked
fine.
significantly different, then we would really be having
Fine,
a
fine.
problem.
I don't want to belabor that one because I was just suggesting simplifying this, but if you want to,
Oh.
that's fine.
Sorry, I was just going back to the policy language to see if that would help us here, because we had said that in the policy that the data be disaggregated by ethnic, free and reduced lunch, gender, and program. So I think that's why we show program participation like ELL and Quest, because those are our district programs. But what I'm hearing too is that it would be more helpful, since free and reduced lunch, instead of having that as a program or a bar on the program slide, you'd prefer to see that in the overall, like this slide. So you'd look at how all of the students did.
Free
On
reduced isn't
MSP.
really a program, is it? I mean,
Well, they're participating in the free and reduced lunch program, so I think that's why it shows up there. But were you saying
I
that
think it
you would
should go
prefer
here.
it on this kind of slide here, so you could see how all students did compared to students who receive free and reduced lunch?
I think
Would that
low
help?
income is a demographic.
Yeah,
It
I
still
look at
falls
it as
into that
demographic,
policy
yes.
as a demographic
That's right.
screen.
So it would be better for it to be here or on the program participation slide?
Here.
I think here
with
would
the
be
ethnic?
good, but then
Okay.
you also have to show the non-free and reduced for comparison. Right, like other,
Would it help, okay. Would it help in this slide if you had the total, one bar that says total, and then how it's all, rather than having to flip back to the one before it to see what the total was?
it depends what percentage are free and reduced. Like we probably have a low enough percentage that you can get away with that. Like if we had 50%,
It's about 15 average for the district.
I think it's safer to just put both. Like just, I guess you could look at the male and female and they're about the same, and compare that way.
Well, why don't you put it where you think it makes sense, and then we can react to it? How's that sound?
Okay.
After we see it.
Okay, so
Or maybe send a sample to Robbie and see if that makes sense. How's that sound? Does that make sense?
I think the question that I have is, I think what Ravi is suggesting is a comparable for low income as an example of in this instance, I think it's a demographic screen, compared to the total population. So the question then becomes, when do you want comparables to the total population and when do you not? So do you want the comparable of Hispanic students to the total population? Do you want programmatically the comparable of a special education to the total population? So what's the criteria?
Right. I guess what
for-
I'm saying is it should really be compared to people who are not low income. Look at all the other comparisons. We have male, we have female. We have white, black, Hispanic, Asian, right? Like I can compare it to the other groups that all like comprise the whole.
But not
set.
really, because if you use black as an example, you're not comparing black to the non-black people.
Well, I kind of am, because there's Hispanic, white, Asian, and so on all in the
But
same
you don't have a
slide.
bar that says non-black, right?
That's right, but that's because if we had different income tiers, I'd suggest that we do that. But instead, we have only two categories of income, low income and not.
Everybody else.
Right? Like if we had 5 different income tiers, I'd suggest how about we have all 5 of them, but we don't have that.
And it's really, you have to remember, it's not low income per se. It's those who sign up for the free and reduced program.
Yeah, I know it's not perfect, but it's what we've got.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Okay, then on slide 21, which is the writing broken down by ethnicity. Maybe it's the ends. I noticed here that,
am I in the right? Am I in the right slide?
yeah.
Okay.
If you look at this,
And that one's report card.
actually, that's not true. No, wait, is that the right one? Hang on. Your data is looking different than the one that I'm.
You're looking at this one's
There's a
content, there's
and a
another one that's
conventions.
conventions.
Yeah, because this one's conventions.
No, I guess that's.
That's content.
Oh, I guess it's the other one. that you were just-
Conventions?
Yeah. Maybe it's the ends, but like on this one, I noticed that like black students do about as well as white students. Like the bars look very similar, but then way later in the slide deck so this is for current 4th graders. I think when we get to like 5th graders or something, that there is a gap. And I was wondering why, or if maybe it's just the ends are very small. Like it could be that we're seeing fluctuations. All right, I'll try and bring it up when we get down to
This
that
one
slide.
says 34 in number, so I'll make a note that this says 34 students.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would anticipate that with ends in the 30s, you're going to see those kinds of fluctuations. When you have 4 students change, you're going to have a 10% swing in your data set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll look and see what
Okay.
the next number is.
Okay, all right, yeah. Okay, that's all I got in the reading and writing part. Thanks.
Okay, so I think we were on to math. So here's the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade report card for the class of 2019, problem solving and reasoning. So this is overall, the entire group. This is their 3rd grade problem solving number sense report card scores side by side with their 3rd grade MSP.
And this is where the MSP is. Not in agreement.
Okay. Then we get into the disaggregation for 3rd grade report card problem solving and reasoning. Number sense. And here is the MSP as a measure, so you can see some of the changes when you get into the disaggregation.
When the schools are working with this data, I guess I'm presuming that the kids that are not at standard and approaching standard are getting extra help and targeted assistance?
That's correct. What the schools do is look at their level 1 and 2, for example, on MSP, so that would be red and yellow, and those are the students that are prioritized for receiving safety net services and extra support and assistance. So they do look at the data in order to program for students who aren't meeting standard.
But what is also true is that there are not enough resources to provide safety net services for every student that is a 1 or a 2 in every content area.
That is correct.
Yeah, and I'm looking at these where they're broken out racially, which is the trend now. But I don't know that how much, ethnic background is as much a difference as socioeconomic and culture. But it just adds another complexity in terms of the resource needs.
Yep. Yeah, and I think, the conversations we've started to have is I think that we often underscope the level of investment it takes to really get those kids, particularly those kids in poverty, in order to perform at the level that we think they can with that investment. We think it takes this much, and it really takes this much. And it's doable if you invest this much, but we only have this much to invest unless we start taking away from other programs.
Well, and I think over the last 10 or 15 years, we've got smarter at what it takes.
Yep.
I don't know that we're there yet.
Yep.
At the same time, the resources keep decreasing.
Right. I mean, there will be essentially no safety net resources available from the state for anybody within the next 12 months.
And yet, we heard Juanita High School is targeting their at-risk kids with special creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have creativity going on.
Sure.
We do. Okay, then we've got the program participation slides for problem solving and reasoning on the report card. number sense, and
Whoa.
MSP.
I guess this one makes me ask, are some of our special ed students ever be able to approach standard? Do we know? By looking at this data, it doesn't really tell us
We
things
know-
like that.
Right. I mean, what this data gives us is pause to ask more questions and to say, of these students who are not at standard and approaching standard, you know, there's going to be a continuum of students in here, some of whom who don't qualify for math SDI. So these are all students who are classified as special education, but, and some of them would be students who are in our medically fragile program, for example. So we've got a continuum of these 82 students. What the schools do then is really, as they get their data, they're looking specifically at who is every student behind this data and what are we doing to meet the needs of this student. And for some students, their goal would be reflected on their IEP, and that would be the goal that they're ultimately trying to reach.
I guess that's what makes this troublesome as a public reporting tool is when you have these broad categories and there's so many different stories in each one. And next year, I assume we're going to put these bars next to each other so we can see if we've made progress in all these areas. But when it comes to something like special ed, it's always going to be apples, oranges, and pears. It's going to be difficult to do comparisons. Okay, I'm getting really good at pointing out the problems. I'll just try and stop.
But the good thing is how, his hearing how it's used when it's then taken back to the building, which is
Yes.
what you're,
Which is what we want.
Which is what we want, is that the programs that are put into place and the safety nets and the whatevers, the one-on-ones that the kids need can be reflected because of looking at data.
Right. And I also want to remind you that our strategy around both our goal development and tracking of students is to track those individual students over time and see who's growing and who's not growing. So if you take this year's data and last year's data and do just a side-to-side look at the bar, it is apples and oranges. But if then you ask us the question, which has been asked, are the kids that you thought were going to improve, did they improve, yes or no? And those that you didn't think were going to improve to standard, how much did they improve and why or why not? I mean, those are the deeper questions that we hope we'll be able to get to over time.
Well, and I guess my question around that is how do you report that in this type of a format to the board, that individual growth of students?
Yeah. And I think that's what we're working on. I mean, I think that's what the beginnings of the dashboard is about. I think that's also what the goal setting is about, that we are starting to work on. And we're going to have, it's going to be messy. We're going to have to muck around in this for a while. And each time we do it, it's going to get better. So, you know, what I heard you say is there is an interest in understanding how to track individual growth over time. That is the interest on all of our part, and so we'll continue to try and figure out ways to present it to you that will hopefully get closer to that, knowing that we don't know how to do it today.
So, can I make another comment on this slide?
Please.
I found this to be one of the more disappointing slides in the whole deck, because low income, why should they do almost as poorly as special ed? Like, they even have fewer, like a lower percentage that exceeds standard. That seems very bad to me. Okay, like they should be doing a lot better than this.
Well, which slide do we go back to see the overall for
MSP?
That would be a better comparison.
Right, and, you know,
Right here.
I think this actually, Robbie, goes back to the question that you asked earlier tonight, which is,
Where do you put that?
how do you know that they should be doing better than that? So is it that our low-income kids are doing worse than other low-income kids, or is this really how low-income kids perform? That's actually the better question.
It's either, you know, we're remiss in doing something wrong, or it's depressing.
Right. And it's a fair question for the board to ask that question. Which is it?
That's right. So I guess I would ask you that question, and I guess you should say which, not this moment, but like determine which it is.
Right, and that's a fair takeaway for us, is that in this particular area, you would like to know why we seem to have a performance problem with low income with mathematics for this class. Is it programmatic? Is it or something else?
Yeah, and I think much in some other slide later in the deck, I noticed that about ELL students as well. I'll point out when we get to that slide.
Okay.
The other thing that we can't see from this slide is that, if these students are also some of these students are these students. So these aren't mutually exclusive. But that's why at the building level, we want to provide this data so they can really drill into who are these students.
Yeah. And they would know if they were all three or
That's
two
correct.
of the categories, and so they would have two things.
That's right.
That might be impeding versus just an income issue.
Well, that and how long they've been in the system.
Yeah. Right. And like you mentioned, there's a story associated with every student that lives behind this data, and that's what we really want people paying attention to. The other thing I just wanted to mention is, whereas in the past we would report current fourth graders compared to last year's fourth graders, and we're not looking at the same groups of students, that's why we shifted into reporting by class of, so that we can track growth over time. So this gives us where we are now,
Right.
and where the building is now, and gives them a good point of what we need to work on. And as they're looking at the same group of students year after year, how are we tracking the growth of those students?
And I think for me, with this area especially, the stories are another important piece. I think it's important to see that we're making progress with the data and the numbers and, moving kids along. But to me, it's important to hear what you are doing about these kids, what the schools are doing about them, and making improvements with each individual student to move them along.
Okay, so we're moving into science and social studies for current fourth graders. And so we've got their first, second, and third grade science report card and their first, second, and third grade social studies report card. We also report out on the report card measures music, technology, art, and PE. And the life skills portion of the previous report card as well.
This one I find not very believable. Like, no one can be this good.
Standard. It's at standard.
They behave well in school and do those things. They
I don't see
work
any
hard.
red there at all. Like,
There's one little red thing, Will. See?
That works well with others, see?
One thing we've done with the new report card, elementary report card this year, is to provide learning progressions and scales for the life skills portion, so we do get some better consistency and have some more clarity in the system about what are these grades, the life skills, it's not called life skills anymore, but that interdisciplinary skills and attributes portion of the elementary report card. So this will likely change as people get more clarity about how do you actually provide a grade for these skills.
So next time you might see a whole bunch
You
of
might
red
see
and go,
some more
oh my
red."
God, what happened? I'll remember which.
that's right. Yeah, I'll consider that good when we see more red here.
You won't. Then you'll ask what we're doing about those kids that are under
That's
standard
right.
and life skills.
That's right. And I'll say, and remember you were wanting red.
I assume they don't do exceeding standard in that area? There's no blue.
They don't currently, if in the old report card. In the new report card, I believe it is on a 1, 2, 3, 4. So that'll be another change. So just in summary, we've got a summary slide that shows currently, most recent third grade report card in MSP, how students are doing in reading, writing, math on the report card, and reading and math on the MSP. So this is just kind of a repeat of what you saw previously. Okay, so we can get into the class of 2018. Reports formatted the same way. Here is overview for reading. Pretty good agreement between the report card and the state assessment. Also pretty good agreement. If you look at both content and conventions together, we separate them for the report card. The MSP for writing, it's scoring both content and conventions. So it's fairly good agreement there as well. And math, agreement not as good, again, between the fourth grade report card and the fourth grade MSP. There's also a dip between their performance from the third grade WASL to the fourth grade MSP. That's pretty consistent from, across the state, and it has to do with the new test, and like I said, or Chip said, we can come back with more specifics about the differences, but we know that the data is pretty consistent with a dip that's seen across the state. Okay, so here is second, third grade report card, next to third grade WASL, next to fourth grade report card, next to fourth grade MSP. So we can kind of see a progression over time for the class of 2018 for reading. And then we get into the disaggregation based on their fourth grade scores. So here's fourth grade report card for reading, fourth grade MSP, report card for program participation, and MSP. Going to move into writing. So we've got fourth grade report card, content and conventions, next to the fourth grade MSP. Disaggregation for content, conventions, and MSP for writing. Got program participation for content, conventions, and MSP, including the income. Okay, so there's some similarities in what we saw in the previous class of data. Moving into math, we've got second grade report card, third grade report card, third grade WASL, fourth grade report card, and fourth grade MSP all together on one slide, so we can see that progression over time. And then we get into the disaggregation, fourth grade report card, and fourth grade MSP. So we're continuing to see that discrepancy.
So this one I also noticed, if you compare the fifth grade math report card and the MSP, well, I guess the data for the fifth grade is the fourth grade report card and MSP. In general, the students do better on the report card.
Correct.
Like you pointed out, but the difference is significantly more pronounced for Black and Hispanic students. Like half of the students who are at standard, like half of the Black students who are at standard on the report card become either
not
approaching or not at standard on the MSP. Like, it's a pretty stunning difference. And I don't know if that's because we're like sort of over scoring them on the report card, or there's somehow like the MSP, I guess often standardized tests will, like minorities don't do as well. But I thought that's more with like the cultural angle than
if there's a bias issue, is it a test bias issue, or is it actually a bias issue inside of our assessing? I mean, that's an interesting question.
Well, remind
that's
me,
the question.
remind me on the MSP, how much of this was done on computer versus figuring on pen and paper, pencil and paper on the math?
I'm going to ask.
I mean, that may be a question.
To help me with that.
That may be a question as you're asking about the differences between the WASL and the MSP, was how it was taken, and time, was that a factor in here? And I don't know if that impacts these particular students, but are these kids not necessarily around computers as much if there was a lot of computers?
You don't see that on writing. If you look at writing,
Do you want me
they
to go back?
arguably do slightly better on the MSP.
Yeah.
Like,
But I
there's
just-
category shift, but
I'm
there's
just-
more
but if-
students who are at or above
But I'm
standard
just
on it.
wondering if you're doing math on a computer where you're doing your figuring there versus, scratch paper
Why
figuring.
wouldn't that be true of the writing then? Like,
Well, because it may be easier, I'm just thinking of doing math. Figuring on a computer may be a more difficult skill than
I think
doing
what
here.
you're
I don't remember
kind
how
of-
it was done.
Right, raising is exactly what we do with the data. We have the data now, we look at it and we say, what does this mean? What could this possibly mean? Why is this? And
Yeah.
dig into all of those possible reasons. So we don't necessarily come with all of the answers to the questions, but we have lots of questions that the data raises both, for us at the district level and at the building level. What we do know is that we did have online. This was the first year of online. We had some schools participating in online. It wasn't pervasive. I can't tell from this data which of these, students participated in the online, but that could certainly be a factor. And these are the exact kind of exercises when buildings and grade levels are really looking at the data for their specific students, the kinds of questions that they pose and try to answer as they're trying to figure out now what do we do and what does this data actually tell us.
to do at a building level, right? Because like the N becomes really small then, right? Like I have, like,
That's true.
Yeah.
5 Hispanic students and like 1 black student in this class or grade level, right? So I don't know what the answer is. I guess I would submit it for your consideration of like.
Is the state
why.
doing an evaluation too, since there was a dip from the MSP from the WASL? Are they evaluating as well? I mean, it strikes me it would behoove them to be looking at why their current test kids statewide are not doing as well overall. Is there something about the test?
That
If they're-
always happens, doesn't
I mean,
it?
if not, why in the world are they bothering to do all this? If they're not going to evaluate why performance?
So I don't know the answer to that question. We'll ask Linda to ask that. I do have to say that the state recently lost its assistant superintendent in charge of assessment, Joe Wilhoft, and is cutting their assessment budget substantially. And so I have relatively low expectations that the level of analysis that needs to take place will take place in the short term because of the budget situation.
Oh, well.
Okay, program participation, 4th grade report card, 4th grade MSP. Again, there's some significant differences there. And then we get into science and social studies for the class of 2018. So 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade science, next to 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade social studies. Music, technology, art, and PE. These are report card measures. And life skills.
There is some red there, Robbie, just so you know.
Yeah, a little bit of red.
And 2 over here.
Yeah, I can actually see that it's red there now.
They're getting bigger and they're 5th graders.
Yeah, I agree with Robbie. It does seem a little too good to be true.
Okay, so just in summary for the class of 2018, this is their 4th grade report card, reading, writing, and math, and 4th grade MSP, reading, writing, and math. Okay, and finally we get to the class of 2017, current 6th graders. In terms of reading, we've got their 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. You can see increase over time in the number of students meeting standard in reading, doing really pretty well in reading across the board. Pretty good agreement, not quite as good in some of the other grades between the report card and the WASL. Still pretty strong performance over time. For writing, we've got their 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade writing, and then their 4th grade writing WASL. They don't take writing WASL in 5th grade. There's fairly good agreement between measures for writing as well. Math, we've got third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade problem solving, and fifth grade problem solving in number sense. Again, the trend of not such strong agreement between the report card measure for math and the MSP for math is true for the class of 2017 as well.
There's also, though, a dip in the fourth grade WASL compared to the
third grade WASL, yeah.
And also
And
from
then
report card
comparison. Yeah, from third, well, a little bit of growth from third to fourth. And pretty, it's exact, similar between fourth and fifth grade for problem solving and reasoning, and then a dip between third and fourth grade for WASL, and another little dip with MSP. Also included science, since they do take an MSP in science, and here you can see just some pretty startling difference between our report card measure and the science MSP. The state assessment in science is pervasively low across the state. And on our report card, on our previous report card, we didn't have a lot of specificity on what teachers were actually reporting out for science. For example, for math, they were reporting out strands like number sense, problem solving, and reasoning. And for science, there was just an open, one open box where they gave a score. And the new report card, it's much more aligned to what they do in math in terms of reporting out specific skill strands for science. So we expect over time for the agreement to probably grow. It continues to be an area of question and concern, though, for us, especially that's not very strong performance on the science MSP.
Did we see the same thing? Wasn't there a fifth grade WASL in science?
No, this
Only
is
eight?
the fifth grade. So this is the current sixth graders' fifth grade MSP. So this is the first time they have taken the science state assessment.
Oh, I thought we'd had a science WASL in fifth grade for a few years.
Nancy's asking a general question, I think.
Yes, that's correct. We do. But
And haven't we always had, I mean, I know we didn't do this type of reporting, but I think we've always had some of a disconnect between how we thought kids might
everyone
be
in the
doing.
state has had a
Yes.
huge disconnect between their report card and the
And then the
science
question comes down to, the quality of the MSP in science, but also the quality of our curriculum. And when they won't really let you assess the assessment, it really makes those assessments more difficult.
Yes, if you can't read and see what's on the test to see if they're asking questions about things that kids are learning, it's a little harder.
And we feel
Well, it means nobody can really monitor the state and the quality of the work the state's doing, too. It means nobody can really monitor the quality of the work that the state is doing in assessment.
I think that might be overstated a little bit. The state does need to, through the assessments, they still need to align to standards. And I think they do analysis of their assessment items. They do have processes for throwing out bad items. So I don't know enough detail to answer that very well, but I think it would be a little overstated to throw the state entirely under the bus on this. And the reason why I say that is, for example, if the MSP, that score in front of us right now was not there, it would not even cause us to ask the question, because we would say, 85% of our kids are doing well in science. And so while the discrepancy between the two scores is terribly problematic, I think it causes a conversation to take place around what we are doing as well as whether the state is doing that wouldn't exist if that wasn't there.
Well, I agree, and I think we've been having that conversation since we started having the science WASL and started seeing such large discrepancies. It's just difficult to do a thorough job when you're only using part of the information.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think it's probably a good idea for us to bring back to you as a board, what is the state's process for doing quality control around assessment? What is the state's process for looking at their items? Because it's easy for us to throw darts at the state and say, what a bunch of idiots. And maybe they are, but I'm not sure that they are. And I think that we need to bring you some good information about what processes they actually use to assess the assessments.
Well, and what do we need to do curricular-wise in order to address these issues?
Right. I mean, frankly, one of the ongoing issues is that, we've taken a power standards approach to our curriculum. And one of the issues in our state and all states right now is still that the assessments are an inch deep and a mile wide.
Yeah.
And we're going to naturally see some performance issues if we are trying to teach deeply in areas. And that is an ongoing debate that's a problem.
Weren't we starting to see the science WASLs go up with
Yes.
some of the curricular changes we were making?
Yeah, we were.
And I know we've got coming up a board work session on math and science. And, we've got strong confidence in our elementary science curriculum. So I think that's another wonder, because we have fairly newly adopted science curriculum that's good, solid curriculum.
What I will do based upon this conversation, Nancy, is I'll ask Linda to come to a future board meeting, and during the superintendent's report, I'll do kind of a report on the state of the state, if you will, as it relates to assessment.
It would be really, I think, not only helpful to us, but I think it'd be helpful to our parents and public that are watching as they listen to us talk here today, to get that report.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting into class of 2017 reading, we've got third grade report card, third grade WASL, fourth grade report card, fourth grade WASL, fifth grade report card, fifth grade MSP for reading. So you can see those 3 years over time and 2 different measures. Okay, then we've got the disaggregation based on the report card for reading.
So this one, in addition to the, unfortunately familiar achievement gaps, there's also like a pretty significant male-female achievement gap, which...
I can't hear you.
In addition to the usual unfortunate achievement gaps, we also have a male-female achievement gap here that's like, it's bigger than I noticed on any other measure here, right? Like especially the 4s. Or the exceed standard. I don't know if this is something that you guys have looked at yet, or I know the stereotype, but
well, we kind of built the assumption that the girls are smarter than boys. And I've been reminded almost every day that that's true,
Especially in 6th grade.
Especially in your house.
That's right. My house is the other way around.
Well, so you just point out that to me, the differences aren't very big there, but I guess it is odd to see.
the exceed standard is a pretty big difference, I think, like for those N sizes.
In reading for girls, I don't think at 6th grade that's unexpected.
I'm not saying I'm like shocked to see it, but like it's.
Well, does it lend
It shouldn't be that big, I would say.
lend some credibility to the issues around boys and boys learning at about this time? That a number of studies have been done recently, and there's lots of information out there about that.
I asked Diane to order me this book on reaching boys, teaching boys. It was very interesting.
Yeah. There is quite a bit of research, especially at that age. That you're right.
This
around.
particular age.
I'll share the book.
I've heard of, I know that, but it still seems like something that, to me, that means yes, we are seeing the same phenomena that others have documented.
Right. Now,
we
now
should
do something about
something.
it. Right. Is that what that is?
Yes.
Are we doing something about it? Maybe that's a more appropriate way to put it.
And another question is, with the advent of computers and so much time spent online, is that going to exacerbate differences in lower elementary grades between girls and boys when it comes to reading?
Well, be interesting. I guess we'll
Good question.
see how that goes. Yes.
And as you know, any one of these variables is, we can make all kinds of guesses and we can draw some loose correlations, but making strong correlations to any one of these variables is pretty tough. But we have to continue to press on the issues. We're going to keep digging and see what we can learn.
Yep.
I know, I'm going dizzy, though, because Robbie's raising these questions and making me go back and forth on my
Okay,
slides.
Keep going, Tracy.
Okay, so we've got 5th grade MSP, desegregation. 5th grade report card by program participation.
We must not have Quest pull out at 6th grade.
Fifth grade MSP.
Oh, we do. How come we had no pull out on the one before?
The data did not show up on the report, and I don't have a good answer for why it didn't. It just was not
Okay.
available. So we've got a couple glitches that we're working out here, and that was a glitch.
Okay.
Okay, so now into writing, and so we've got 3rd grade, it's content and conventions for the report, for the report card. So 3rd grade, 4th grade, next to the 4th grade WASL, and then we've got 5th grade content and conventions. So the only state measure we have is that 4th grade WASL. Okay, then we get into the disaggregation of the 5th grade report card. This is by content for writing. For conventions. And here's their 4th grade WASL. So this is a measure that's a couple years old now, but it's the only state assessment that we have for writing. And here's program participation in 5th grade report card content. 5th grade report card conventions. And 4th grade WASL. And again, we didn't have the data show up for Quest for this measure. Okay, then we get into math, 3rd grade report card, 3rd grade WASL, 4th grade report card, 4th grade WASL, 5th grade report card problem solving and reasoning, that's PSR, number sense, and 5th grade MSP. And then here is the disaggregation for problem solving and reasoning, the 5th grade report card. For number sense. And for the 5th grade MSP. Here's program participation for the report card, problem solving and reasoning, number sense, and 5th grade MSP.
Can you go back to that last one? I guess with both of these, like the ELL numbers, I think I mentioned this one earlier, this is really not good. Like they're doing worse than special ed on math. Like on reading and writing, sure, like I get that, like that's sort of by definition they're not going to do that well, but math, like...
Doesn't special ed also include some of our highly autistic students who might be quite gifted in some of these areas?
That's correct. So this is any student who's on an IEP for
That's why you have
any
some
reason.
blue.
Yeah.
All right, even if I compare them to the general population, right, like they're doing significantly worse than the general population on, like, I mean, both on the report card and the MSP. So, like, I guess the
ELL?
agreement is decent. Yeah, ELL.
Looking at ELL.
Well, the question is how much reading is involved then in this math MSP?
Yeah, I think that you would get Chris to make an argument that
Yeah.
our current math is actually relatively highly language-based, and so there may be a correlation there.
That's been a problem since the beginning, hasn't it?
Especially
Yeah.
at the state level of testing, maybe more of an issue.
I
What
guess,
was
and
it
that's
like
another
in
thing
the
we've discussed.
report
Like,
card?
I would argue that's possibly a problem, right? Like, we're
Back up
not
to the
getting a
report
good
card.
read on this.
Number sense or problem solving?
Just looking at the report card ELL data
Okay.
versus the MSP.
Okay, so here's problem solving and reasoning report card, number sense report card,
Okay.
and then MSP.
Yeah, so the MSP's a little, but it's
Yeah,
worse
that's
everywhere.
really bad, right? Like, one of a few things seem possible here. Like, one is there's a lot of communication, so, so they actually are not learning math properly, and they're really doing this poorly, right? Like, another possibility, which would be very bad, right? Another possibility is there's a lot of communication, and so really we can't see truly how good at math they are because it's, they're like prevented from showing it by the communication, which is bad in a different way, right? Like, that means we have no visibility into how well they're getting math,
Right.
Right? Like, one way or another, like, something is not right.
Right. So I think the purpose of this process is to do exactly what you've just done, which is, so here's this pile of data that we've just presented to you around intermediate, and here's an area that you're worried about, and you have concerns about, and you'd like us to dig deeper into that and come back to you with what do we think is causing this, or what are we going to do about it, or both.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair thing. So we're gonna take that back as a worry about ELL specifically in this grade band and in this content area, and we'll dig into it and bring it back to you.
Okay, thanks.
And how do you want to do that so that board members will know how the comeback will be, the follow-up? Is that going to be in a follow-up section in the board meeting, in the agenda?
Yeah, I think that that's a fair place to put it, and then down the road. So the immediate question that you're asking is why, what's going on? We should bring that back either within a follow-up or within the context of the ELL section, one or the other. But we should bring it back to you in short term. Then in the longer term, it should actually inform the kinds of goal setting that we do down the road. If we think that there's a performance issue, then you should say, I think that there should be improvement in this area specifically, and this is what we think it should look like, and we'll come back to you with, this is what we think is possible with these kids, because remember, we're tracking it by kid, and there should be a meeting of the minds, if you will. I think both of those things should happen.
Yeah, so do we have a place to note these things, like, for, like, next year? And
Yeah, Diane's recording everything.
Okay, but, like, so when we do this report the next time, like, I think we should see, like, these were sort of the key things that were areas of concern, so that we, like, remember to check them next time.
So because we've had a few things that have fallen through the cracks in the last year or two, we've done a couple things process-wise that are a little bit different. First is Diane records everything, as does Janine and Tracy, because I don't. And then what ends up happening is there's a table like this, which has the board request, the follow-up, when it was followed up, and who's responsible for it.
Okay.
And then, so we're actually tracking every board request in every meeting. So just know that exists.
Sounds good.
I think it would be helpful, because I'm not going to remember all the things that Robbie brought up, or Nancy or myself brought up tonight. Is there some way that you can just let us, remind us what we asked beforehand, so we'll know what to expect as answers down the road? Robbie's good about keeping track of his.
Yeah, I
his
keep track of
notes.
my own. I can't say a promise for the
But,
rest
just so we know what the follow-up will be, maybe that we need that as
Yeah. So
in the next brief, maybe
Yeah.
a report from this meeting could be that there will be a follow-up on blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
date.
Yep, we can do that.
About A, B, C, and D from this report. That might be really, especially when we get so many of them. It's not easy to keep track of them when there's only one or two comments, but we've had quite a few tonight.
Yeah. Okay.
So what are you asking me to remember every comment I've made?
No, I asked Janine over there, and Tracy, who's taking copious notes, and Diane, who has it, and has the verbatim. I mean, we're recorded, so they can go back and, if we need to.
And I think the way to do that, I mean, how I've typically been doing it is, in the board follow-up, I've actually been using this as my guide and just verbally reporting back. But it sounds to me like what you guys would like is actually maybe even me to send this to you, because this actually tracks what you've asked for and when you're going to get it, and so we can.
That might be helpful.
We can do some of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then I know when to
Well, and it's
nag
a
or not.
combination of two things now. We're really getting into this ends monitoring, so it's, the type of question that was just pointed out, what's going on here. And then there's also the questions around reporting, because we're still refining reporting.
Yeah.
And after 10 years of doing policy governance, it's kind of good that we're spending most of a meeting
That's right.
talking about ends.
It is indeed.
Yeah, I keep thinking how I can do a better comparison, though. It's like I need this
Right.
laid out in a way we can't really do.
Right. And what is helpful for us is that as you guys look at the data is, for example, what I heard pretty loud and clear is, I have a worry about ELL. Give us more information. What's harder for us is I have a worry about everything. And sometimes that's how the
Hard.
conversation goes. And so if you can specify where you're worried and where you'd like more information, it helps us to get back to the board, because I don't think you can worry about growth of every kid in every grade in every content area every year.
No.
That's the governance responsibility is really around these big chunks like ELL, where we can bring back to you, or maybe there's a girl-boy difference in sixth grade. That's a fair question to ask, so that we can bring you back more information.
Well, and I guess to summarize my concerns so far, one has been, how in the world do we figure out the reliability of the MSP?
Yep, and we heard that.
And how does that impact our curriculum? But also, if I have a senior moment, I can't remember it at all. Oh, great.
We've had
Diane,
comparison to
somebody will remember for me.
to state statistics in over time. I mean, we see the Wassels
Right,
against the
right,
Wassels,
right.
the MSP. Do they disaggregate it into low income? I mean, I'm just kind of curious, how do we do either, because we've talked about comparables, either with other
feds do.
districts or, with other districts, or against, how kids in, poverty across the state, how they do on state assessments in our district compared to
Yeah, I
what
think
they're
we
doing
can pull
elsewhere.
that from.
I mean, if they have that
the
information,
OSPI
just to see,
Yeah, I
kind of
think
see
the
that.
SPI
Yeah,
has
you
it.
can
Yeah.
look at,
And I just think it'd be
pull that.
curious to have this next to the state as well, just to see how we do overall, just to have something to compare it to beside the non.
Well, I remember my other thing. I mean, my overarching concern is as resources shrink. I mean, what I see in here is resource demands.
Yep.
And I'm just really concerned that if we're going to keep focusing on each individual child,
We're worried about it as well, and I think the place where we're going to see the hardest hit, you mentioned it earlier, just because there's resource demands doesn't mean that teachers are not going to continue to try and differentiate, and they're going to continue to be creative, et cetera, and I think that will continue. Where it really hurts us is the ability to provide extra time.
yeah, it's that more time on task. And we've got, 15 years into ed reform? If there's one thing we know, it's more time on task
Right.
for some of these
Right.
kids.
Right, and that's going to be increasingly difficult as money disappears.
The other thing is, this change in the test from the WASL to the MSP, which may turn out to be a good thing. I don't know that we know. But it does mess up our reporting. And, I mean, this is not high school, but it's, it's messing us up with the feds.
Yep. Okay, we'll bring you back an assessment of the assessment game.
Great.
Okay, so to round up class of 2017, we've got science, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade report card, and fifth grade MSP together. And then we have the disaggregation of the report card measure for science, fifth grade, and the MSP. And then program participation report card and MSP.
That's a worrisome one. Low income, not doing that well on science. I would have the same concerns that Robbie's expressed in the past. I mean, special ed and ELL are concerns also with science.
I think in the low-income category in particular, I think it's a really good idea for us to see if we can pull the statewide data on the MSP in each of these categories, because we typically have achieved higher than the state average in most areas, but that doesn't take into account the socioeconomic status. So I think that we should probably build that in.
And again, how much is this test dependent on reading and
right.
as
And
opposed
we
to
can pull
other ways?
ELL numbers from the state as well, I would assume.
Yeah, I just think, I think it'd be good to have something to compare against.
Yeah.
Especially in these subpopulations. Yeah.
And these are the areas that get the
Yeah,
a fair amount
SPED,
of.
ELL, and low
yeah,
income.
When you look at Fed.
There's something going on too, because even in our Quest, I mean, those are really small numbers there, but even in our Quest program, we have kids not at standard, which tells me, I mean, is it the curriculum or is it the test? Is it both?
Well, but you also, when we select kids for Quest, it doesn't mean that they're.
True, science isn't part of it.
That's right.
But
So-
you would still expect them to be at standard.
Well, yeah, but if you look at, you're looking at one or two kids there.
Yeah, that's what, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
It may be just one or two.
Right. If in the pullout number, that whole bar is 41 kids.
Yeah.
So
you're probably talking about it.
But we haven't seen that I remember in math or reading or writing for the Quest kids. I don't remember seeing it.
In yellow.
In yellow
Or red,
until
right.
now. I don't know, might not mean anything.
Okay. So then we've got social studies for the 3 years of the report card. Music, technology, art, and PE. And life skills.
Just one with a little red.
I don't know.
Bit of red there.
See, I would expect that column.
Looks like we got lots of angels.
Yeah.
We do.
I would expect work ethic to show up more red in some areas.
We have
Yes.
good kids.
Well, yes, they're on task.
Yeah.
It's rigorous and they're on task.
Okay. And finally, just the summary slide that shows all of the class of 2017 report card and MSP data for fifth grade on one slide. So just a recap of what we've seen. So I took lots of notes and have some
Well,
things
thank
that
you.
we can incorporate into the junior high report, and we'll keep refining.
Well, we appreciate your report and appreciate the time. I know this is not something that just magically flew onto the PowerPoint.
It's a lot of work.
Yes, so very,
there,
very much appreciate it.
Two other suggestions, if it's okay, on the format, and then I'll just recap like my major concerns just to be clear. So one is a very simple one. I think it would help if you could add slide numbers to the slides.
Okay.
Like
That would help. It was hard. I had to
right,
keep
just
going
like
to
keeping
the
track of
sorter.
where we are, and like on my notes, I have like slide 79, and then like which one you're on. It's just I think it would be easier.
I'm not sure that I'm okay with that.
If we can't agree on that, it's a real problem.
It's 9:30. I'm going to be argumentative now.
All right.
9:40.
The other one is I wonder, so like the ethnic achievement gap issues, like the N value, I noticed that in several places. I'm wondering if maybe for the breakdown by ethnicity, should we roll it up like multiple grades at once or something? Because like right now, anytime you see the numbers for like black students on one of these grades, you basically, it's like all bets are off because like it goes all over the place. Like if we did like 3 grades together, maybe it's or take it at least as like
So you
a
wanna-
request to find a way so that we can actually look at that in a meaningful way.
So you want to, instead of saying 30, 30, 30, you'd like to say 90 kids, and how did they do?
I don't get what you're getting at, though.
What was that?
Black
How
and
did
white
that-
numbers.
I don't know if that helps us because.
I don't know how that does either.
It was the Native Americans that we usually didn't have a high enough in. Is that what you're talking about?
But he's
Even on
even
black
talking about
students, we didn't.
Like black students, where you've got 40 students, it becomes problematic because you've got a swing of 4 or 5 kids that moves the numbers 10% one way or the other. He's talking about combining grades so you have a higher N value. But
don't know
I think
that
the
that would
difficulty is if you're going to do true comparables to the rest of the population, then you've got to combine theirs as well.
Yeah, that's right.
But so you still end up with the same problem. Now you have an N of 120 as opposed to in a population of 6,000, as opposed to an N of 40 in a population of 2,000.
It's not the same problem because, I mean, if you increase the numbers to like 100,000 and 300,000, you wouldn't doubt the validity of comparing those.
I think there may be a validity problem, though, if you try and combine ethnicity on 3 measures at 3 different grades because you're trying to ferret out an ethnicity issue. I'm not sure that you're going to get what you want to get. I don't know that you can make that kind of conclusion. I'm not a statistician, so I don't know the full answer to that question, but it doesn't logically make sense to me that
I mean,
you
it
would.
sounds to
It's
me
not a
like you're trying to
statistical question,
flatten
it's
out
that
the
you're now
curve.
adding up things that aren't comparable is really the problem. They're not quite comparable. It's like 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade math performance, right? Like you add those up, and now, it's a little odd. That's the problem.
It's very odd. I mean, that would be like saying, let's add up 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade math performance across all of all the performance in all the areas and make a generalization about intermediate performance. We could do that too. Then your question is going to be, well, then what's 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade look like? I mean, I think you've got to treat it all the same way.
I don't see the value of that either.
The value is that now
We'll
you
let
can.
you think about that one a little bit more.
Yeah, all right, okay, I'll think
But I
about
think,
it.
in
Hey, on that.
general, the No Child Left Behind kind of culture that's been created, which is not all bad, in that we do have to look at, again, No Child Left Behind. So we have to look at all our subgroups to make sure that we've got ways to address performance. And so I think, we do a disservice. So we try to, if we are not able to drill down and try to address those issues.
For the schools looking at the individual children's data, they need to be looking at each kid no matter what and what's it going to take. For us looking at this kind of aggregate data, I think the only thing we can do is say, okay, do we have a problem reaching this particular type of student with this particular background? But I always have a problem with that because, whatever your ethnic background is or racial background, that is such a small part of your whole background, culturally, family, prep. There's so many other factors involved. For us, though, it would be, is there a sign of prejudice or a sign that we're not making an attempt as a district to reach all kids and to service all
that was
kids?
brought to, in the courthouse where I work, well, not in the courthouse, but, with the county. People are watching how we do, and those are the kinds of things that they're holding us accountable for. And so...
Well, that's why I think it's important to do some other comparison. I think it's easier to compare against another same age population beyond Lake Washington, maybe to see how we're doing and some of that. If anybody has any other pieces, questions, comments, please send them on to Chip.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we can move on to the SOUPS report.
I'm just kind of tangentially related. Last year at WASDA, Doug and I heard that presentation from Dr. I can't remember any names anymore. Anyway, she wrote a book on, she came out of poverty, generational poverty, and she's really become involved in education and how reaching children who come out of generational poverty, they have a different language, they have different expectations. There's just a whole lot of cultural things involved, and she's doing a lot of work. Her work is actually being used in public health, too, in terms of public health messaging. And I don't know if Doug finished the book, but that is something for our teachers and staff to consider, is that aspect of reaching kids who come from that type of a background.
I'm actually far more interested in the poverty implications than I am the ethnic ones. And maybe one of the things we need to run is how many of those Hispanic students or African American students are actually in poverty.
Right.
Because it may be that the poverty is the driver, not the ethnicity being the driver.
And that's our assumption.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's.
Yeah, when Doug's finished with that book, you might find it very interesting. I was really,
We had another, and I don't want to go further down the rabbit hole, but there was another speaker at WASDA this year that was really powerful. And basically his whole, and I'll have to email you the name. I can't think of his name right now, but he was the youngest African-American professor in the state of Florida. And his background, his life story was incredible. But his whole point was you need to know your students. And as a way to demonstrate that, he listed 30 or 40 different issues that are barriers to performance.
Yeah.
Everything from abuse to drug abuse to alcoholism. And what he did to demonstrate that is he said, everybody in the room that has dealing with 5 or more of these issues, stand up. And by the time he was done, everybody in the room was standing up. And these are, school board members like us, and, people dealing with abuse, bullying in their background, and all those kinds of things. It was really powerful. But he said, you've got to know your students.
Well, I think the other thing that we're going to have that will be maybe reflective in some of the poverty issues in the next few years is the change that we're in now with the economy as it's been. We're now finding people newly impoverished that have not been before, and that the stress that puts on them and their families as they've gone where they've been able to afford things and now are on food bank and all those issues that have, because that is a huge emotional pressure and certainly can impact learning. So that may be another piece of it that we may see come out of this in the future.
it's Dr. Beagle, Donna Beagle.
Okay.
She's in out of Oregon.
So when you're done with that book.
Sure, I'll make sure again.
SOUPS report, sir.
A few items in the SOUPS report. A few weeks ago, you all asked about graduation data. So I have a report for you. Let me pass this out.
Thank you, sir.
One of the questions was, how is a graduation rate actually calculated? And there were some questions around high numbers of what looked like dropouts out of one of our comprehensive high schools in particular, and the data looked odd, and it was odd. So what we have here is how we're actually currently tracking graduates and kids who do not finish. So if we look at the total students identified as the class of 2010, there were 699 students, and of those, 265 did not graduate on time. However, this total number included students who have transferred out of our system. So we base our on-time graduation rate as the number of active students minus those kids who transferred out of our system divided by those that graduated on time. So that calculation is 90.2%. So the question then becomes, what happened to the rest of those kids? So of the 265 that were not on our rolls, again, 110 of those transferred out of our system. So there's 155 students that we're worried about. So when we break that down, 82 of those students are still active in our system. That means they are going to school with us. They are kids who are continuing to go to school in order to get a diploma. 10 of those students are classified as completers who went and got their GED. 56 are classified as dropouts. However, 21 of those 56 are Family Learning Center students who either earned a homeschool diploma, an AA degree, or a private school diploma. 6 are unknown. We would assume that those are probably dropouts of one form or another. And we had 1 deceased student. So if we look at the chart by school and by whether they're active completers, dropouts, et cetera, you can then get a better picture of where those kids are. So, and again, the 117 student category, the active and dropout categories, does not include the 21 Family Learning Centers who earned a diploma elsewhere. So, if we look at then this, we've got 56 what we consider dropouts and 6 kids who are unknown. And if we pull out the 22 FLC kids, because those kids actually ended up getting some other form, we actually have a much smaller number of kids who are actually dropouts, if you will, out of our system. So that number is actually pretty small. The concern was in excess of 100 kids out of Lake Washington High School, and as you can see, that number just is not true.
Yeah.
The next chart below shows why the kids did not graduate. Was it our level 5 requirements? Was it credits? And which students had a combination of those? So if you look at this, of the 117 kids not graduating on time, 6 of them had only missing a performance required, which would be one of our essays or the formal science lab report. No students had only the culminating project or high school and beyond. 5 students were only missing credits. 1 student was only not meeting standard on the WASL. And 105 students had a combination of a variety of those things. So the question asked here is there any single thing that is providing an obstacle for a large number of students? And the answer to that is no. There are a few students where single obstacles were in place. But for most of our students, it was a multitude of obstacles that kids were not accomplishing. Then on the back, you see a demographic breakdown of kids who are non-graduates, and this includes the transfer students, male, female, special education, ELL, et cetera, and how that demographic breakdown is. So this is a report. You will get a deeper look at ER1 when we do the report in January, but this was specifically related to that LW number that we were worried about, and I just wanted to get you that data.
Why would you include the transfers in this demographic data? You just didn't have the data without the transfers?
Is that correct, Tracy?
Transfers aren't really relevant.
The spreadsheet that we have includes the transfers. We could probably go back and see if we could ferret out taking out the transfers and seeing what the demographic is.
Well, and if you do that,
We just, just the reason we did it that way is because it includes everyone who didn't graduate on time.
right, but transfers to me aren't relevant to what we're doing or how we're doing. And then, these numbers don't look bad, but if you included that, then I'd want to know the percentage of each of these groups as part of our overall senior population. So what percentage of our senior population is male, what percentage is female?
So, and I'd like to suggest that we'll provide that for you in January when we do ER1.
Yeah.
This was really to clarify that
Right.
question of, do we have a major problem at Lake Washington High School where there's 100+ kids? And the answer to that is no.
Is this calculation then the new one they keep talking about, that the feds are going to require everybody to do it the same?
I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that either.
Yeah.
Maybe
We'll have to look
find
into
that
that.
out too.
Okay, we
They
can do
keep
that.
talking about how we all going to do it the same,
Yeah,
whatever that is.
yeah, whatever that is.
Okay.
Okay, that was the first one. The second one is I wanted to talk quickly about the linkage session that we're planning this spring. We had originally scoped that linkage for January, but now we're going to push that out later in the spring. We are planning on doing an invitation to seventh grade parents to talk specifically about graduation requirements. And the two areas of focus around graduation requirements that we're going to be posing are around the new credit requirement that we're contemplating, and secondly is around the interest concentration. So we worked the board through 6 or 7 different possible interest concentrations, and we want to run that by some of our public as well. We have asked Matt Montebianco to facilitate that session. I will give, at a board meeting where it's not quite so late, I'm going to give a background for the public on what is a linkage and why a linkage, et cetera. But I'll do that when we get closer. I don't want to take the time tonight.
Yeah,
to do
when we
that.
were going to do some time at a work session with Matt, so the board was prepared, so I'd like to still make sure we do that.
Okay.
So we understand what his role is going to be as a facilitator, what his, expectation is of board members there before we actually get to the linkage itself.
Okay. Lastly, I wanted to talk for a moment about meetings with legislators. In a brief to the board last time or the time before, I talked about the possibility of getting all the legislators together with a couple of boards. That was actually the recommendation of Ross Hunter. I got positive feedback from the board, but I'm a little bit worried about a time of year and time to do that before the session starts. I do have a series of meetings lined up with some legislators, and so what I'd like to do is see if any board members would be interested in accompanying me to any of those legislative meetings. Certainly not required, but would love to have any or a number of you join me. One in particular I'd really like somebody with is the new Republican Senator Andy Hill. I've met with him once already, so I'd really like to introduce him.
Do you actually have a date?
I do. Friday, December 17th is him, 8 to 9 a.m., doing breakfast at the Meritage. I actually have all of these on a sheet that I'll pass out.
Do you have a preference of how many board members you would like?
Because if you have all of us, you
limit to-
probably have to post,
Yeah.
you probably have to
Do you, I'm
Yeah,
figuring
announce it as a meeting.
Yeah, my preference would be to do 1 or 2. Certainly don't do more than 2 because then it's a meeting. And if nobody can attend, that's okay too. I have relationships with most of these legislators, and I'm happy to carry the message for those that you can't do. Again, my preference was to bring us all together with some boards, but this looks like our best bet for right now in light of the time of year and trying to arrange an event like that.
Yeah, probably the only one I can't do, I think, is probably the one on the 15th.
Well, I'm going to, already on the calendar to do the 32nd group, since they're my representatives.
That is-
The December 16th,
So that's
The noon.
Chase and
Kagi.
Okay, so that's Jackie.
And we're looking to get the new person in there,
probably-
too.
I could probably do
And I
most
can
of the
do
other ones
Ross.
except for the 15th.
Okay, are there
I'll
any you're
try and
interested
do-
in, Robbie, or does your calendar not allow you to at this time?
Yeah, my calendar's not so hot.
And Nancy, do you have any interest in any of these?
I can probably, I cannot do the 14th or the 15th. I can do the 17th with Andy.
Okay, so Nancy.
Probably do that too.
So why don't we have Nancy and Doug at that one, that would be great.
And I've met him already, so that might
Right.
be good for
Yeah,
you two
I've met
to
him,
have a
yeah.
chance to meet him. You've met him at your door, but I mean, I've met him elsewhere, so.
Okay.
And I will look at my calendar for these
I can't
other-
do any of the others.
Okay, that's fine, and I know Chris is not available right now either, so I'll
me
have
look.
Jackie look, and Doug is fairly available. I'll have Doug look. Between Jackie and Doug, we'll try and get
We'll
them
try to
covered,
cover 'em.
and those that we
Yeah.
can't.
I
I'll do.
probably should be able to, these are just back-to-back, aren't these, on the 14th? Yeah. They're at 8:30, and then one at 10.
Yep.
Yeah, I should be able to, but let me check my calendar, and I'll get back to you
Okay.
and Diane. But I'm on for the 16th already for both of those.
So, so let's see, let's do, so I'm tentatively putting Jackie in for Glenn Anderson and Deb Eddy on the 14th, and the 32nd on the 16th, Nancy and Doug on Friday the 17th.
Right.
We can do,
Yeah, and maybe we could split, oh, that's the 15th, and never mind. I'm looking at this the same day, but they're two separate dates. And I'll check my calendar for the 15th and 16th and let you know.
okay, and Doug, are there any additional ones you're particularly interested in doing?
Just put me in wherever you need me, except for, like I said, I don't think I'm available on the 15th.
Okay, not the 15th. Okay, so why don't I put you on with Ross on the 16th?
Okay.
Okay, so, yeah, and I'm going to be here for that for lunch, and I can quickly look at my calendar.
And I've got down Friday the 17th.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, 15th. I guess I ought to be in the right month.
Is
Would help,
Meritage
wouldn't
a
it?
particular place in the Marriott?
Yeah, it's the restaurant in the
Yeah,
Marriott
just-
across the street.
Just go in the front door and
Go in the front door and it's
go
there?
towards the left, yeah. I can do the 14th, yes,
Okay.
both of those, and I can do the 15th.
Okay.
I'm going to skip doing Rodney because I'm coming here at noon and I don't have anything, I don't
Okay,
need to
so
be, so if Doug could do
Doug could do
Rodney
and Jackie's going to do
The problem-
the 32nd.
So you want me to help with Rodney Tom on the 16th?
Okay.
Okay.
That means
Yep.
you're coming in the
Yep.
morning and the afternoon, is that okay?
Yeah,
Like
because
Monday.
I'm not, I'll be retired.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I have is Jackie, Deb Eddy, Jackie, Glenn Anderson, Jackie Goodman, Doug Tom, Jackie Chase and Kagi, Doug Hunter, and Nancy and Doug for Hill.
Yeah.
And I may stay with the one with Ross, just because I'm here with
Great.
another
Sure.
meeting, so.
Okay,
But
thank
it
you.
won't hurt to have two of us with Ross.
Okay, would you mind handing that to Diane? Thank you. I have nothing else to report.
Okay, then we'll go to Ledge report.
Okay, I don't know if but I think today the governor announced that she definitely wants to have a special session. She hasn't set a date. As you probably know, the governor can call a special session of the legislature, but once she does that, it's up to the legislature to kind of really determine what the agenda is and all that sort of thing.
I change these meetings.
So it could be interesting.
Good.
Could be interesting. But the primary reason, at least that motivates the governor for calling the special session is the approximately $300 million hole in the 2010 budget. So that's the current budget in the current year. And so it'll be interesting to see how that gap is closed. Probably health programs for low-income people will be a major target, and it may be as we get down the road for closing holes in the budget that while basic education is protected, not all K-12 is protected. So things like levy equalization and other issues that are important to the stakeholders in public education will be a target. So we'll try to keep, between Chip and I, and I know Janine, we'll try to keep you posted as to how things develop over the coming days, weeks, and months. Really quickly, we know that the Senate leadership is beginning to take shape. It appears that Senator McAuliffe will continue to be chair of the Education Committee, and so that's kind of a known quantity. I recently attended the Eastside elected officials reception and was able to spend some time with House members in the 5th, 45th, and 48th districts. And I touched a little bit on the WASDA, the state WASDA assembly or annual conference that I attended in Spokane. Some pretty powerful speakers, including one actually on video conferencing, Diane Ravitch, who has written extensively on education reform, and who has really, although she helped in the Bush 1 and Clinton administrations as far as helping to shape No Child Left Behind and that sort of thing, she's really turned 180 degrees, and she's got some pretty powerful views about the direction we're going with high-stakes testing and that sort of thing. And I picked up her book, which is, I'm looking forward to reading. Other than that, I got reelected to the Legislative Committee, so I'll continue to work on that for the next couple of years.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And it's going to be just the little bits and pieces that I pick up as far as things that will be on the table that really have never been seriously considered before. Examples would be consolidation of districts. The governor, from what I can gather, is going to really be pushing that issue. And although we've always felt that we were protected from that, it's possible that even big districts will be asked to look at consolidating with neighboring districts. So it's something to keep on the radar screen, you know.
Chris may have been prophetic, and we may take over Riverview after all.
Yeah, I'm just listening to Ross Hunter the other day. I think they were looking at the smaller ones in eastern Washington that are,
so, who knows?
Populations, but we'll see what they do.
But because of the magnitude of at least as today, as we look at the budget and the state of the economy, we've got to make sure that we, watch everything, because it sounds like a lot of things are going to be on the table that never have been before. So I'll leave you with that, and then I will try to put together some highlights of the WASDA conference on an email, because I think the hour is late and we don't need to belabor that.
Okay.
I have one last thing on one of the resolutions that you voted on earlier today, 2071. There was an error in the situation recommendation. It listed the levy as being in February of 2012.
So it probably means
It is in February of 2011. So I just wanted to make that part of the public record that there was an error there, and it is February 2011.
Oh, and I wanted to add one more thing about WASDA. Our favorite annual event, that is the raising of the dues, did go through. It was a fairly close vote, but we called for a weighted vote based on the size of districts, and the board had cleverly rewritten the rules so that there was no way that could occur. So we were swamped by the smaller districts, of course, who didn't experience a raise in dues.
Yeah.
They base the amount of dues you have to pay on the size of your staff. And
so we get to
we get dinged
again.
Yep.
Once again. Yeah. Okay.
Very frustrating.
We didn't have any follow-up, I don't believe, for this meeting, did we?
No. I will send out, however, the follow-up tracking form to you all, so you can see how we're tracking those.
That'd be great. And anything for future? I think we've handled that with follow-up pieces more than anything else. Anybody need anything on an agenda item that we need to be aware of?
Nope.
Any debrief comments? Board member comments? I can
I have
just
one.
I can just report that the Citizens Levy Committee is working very hard. We're getting ready to do our mailing right after the holiday break, and we've got lots of things in a row, and that committee right now is about, let's see, we were 17 that were present at our last meeting. So we've got lots of citizens in there now that are really taking on a big portion of the activities, which is really great. Some really good people. Okay, Nancy?
In the December School Board Journal, if y'all haven't looked at it, there's a interview with a filmmaker on another film. We've been hearing a lot about the Superman one. This is one I want to see. It's called Race to Nowhere, and it's a documentary by a mother-turned-filmmaker, Vicki Abeles, who interviewed student parents and educators to examine the cost of today's education policies. Policies that are described as obsessed with testing, performance, and competition rather than meaningful teaching and learning.
Is that one that the League of Education Voters has been talking about? Do you know? Okay.
I think part of what she's saying is this obsession, and of course we see it in a lot of blogs and columns and letters, is it's impacting overall education if you're taking, I'm trying to summarize, it's hard to summarize it, but just basically says, school districts have determined to address homework policies and, never mind, I won't read that. But anyway, engagement, some of the things we do talk about, but I think it's nice to see a film that's talking about real things in education.
Okay.
Y'all can read it, it's in the journal.
I haven't got that far yet. It's on my stack of to-dos. Any other board member comments? Okay, before I get a motion to adjourn, just on the agenda, the January 8th special board meeting, which was going to be a mini retreat, has been canceled, so it will not take place. Our next board meeting will take place on January 10th with a 5 p.m. work session with a topic to be determined for our work session. We will have a reception at 6:30 honoring our National Board Certified Teachers. It's just always fun to be able to do that. And then our meeting begins at 7. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Okay, motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Meeting adjourned.